All right, everyone, please be seated. And please call the next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would call Special Agent Brett Dickerson of the GBI.
All right, sir, please raise your right hand and take the oath.
Do you swear and affirm the testimony that you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Please have a seat.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Agent Dickerson.
Good morning.
Can you please state and spell your name for the court reporter?
My name is Brett Dickerson. It's BRETTDICKERSON.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a special agent for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
And have you worked for any law enforcement agencies other than the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
Yes, ma'am. I started my career with the Sheriff's Office in Scriven County.
And just so that we kind of try to abbreviate this some, do they go by the GBI?
Yeah, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, yes, ma'am, GBI.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say Georgia Bureau of Investigation 100 times, so can we call it the GBI?
Sure thing.
Okay. And you said, where did you work before that?
The Scriven County Sheriff's Office in Sylvania, Georgia.
Okay. How long did you work for them?
About 21 years.
And before that?
That was my first law enforcement job.
Okay. And what did you do at Scriven?
I wore a lot of hats. So I started off working in the jail, also dispatched, and then later on I went to the police academy and obtained certification as a peace officer in the state of Georgia. I worked in the road patrol division until 2007. At that point, I also graduated from Georgia Southern University and moved over to the criminal investigations division where I was an investigator. I served as an investigator from 2007 until 2018 when I was promoted to chief deputy of the agency and served there until I left.
Okay. So that was all in Scriven?
Correct.
Okay. And when you left Scriven County after 21 years, where did you go?
The GBI.
Okay. Tell the jury what and how you become a GBI special agent.
Well, there's an application process, obviously. It's fairly extensive. It took me about a year or so to get on between the backgrounds and everything.
In that capacity, did you have any training that was in addition to your training from Scriven?
Correct. So once I was hired, we attended the basic agent course, which is usually around 14 weeks. And during that time, you're in residence at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center, and you're given the training needed to become a special agent.
Okay. And as a special agent, do you have any particular roles, or is it just one role as a special agent?
So my role at my GBI office here in Statesboro, Region 5, is that of a crime scene specialist.
And where is Region 5? What does that cover?
It's in Statesboro. We cover a 10-county area. The GBI is divided into regional offices. There's 15 throughout the state. They cover usually about 10 counties per office. Our office covers 10 counties, and it ranges from Jenkins and Scriven County up north down the eastern part of the state to Chatham and Liberty.
Does that include McIntosh and Liberty counties?
It includes Liberty, but not McIntosh.
Okay, so Region 5 would have covered the location of the first recovery?
Correct.
Okay. And as a GBI agent, you indicated that you're as a crime scene investigator, is that correct?
The crime scene specialist, yes, ma'am.
My apologies, crime scene specialist. And in that role, is there any specialized training for that in addition to your basic course?
Yes, ma'am. One of the reasons why the GBI assigns certain agents to serve as crime scene specialists is because there's a lot of technical knowledge that has to be applied to our role, and because of that, the training and some of the experience needed to function well in that role takes some time to accumulate. So we conduct monthly trainings every month, and there's also an onboarding process that involves week-long trainings at a time that involve basic training in crime scene investigation, but also documentation issues like crime scene photography and the like.
Did you receive specialized training in each of those individual sciences and areas that you just described?
I did.
So is there special training for actually how to take crime scene pictures?
Sure.
Okay, and did you get that training?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what's the difference between the GBI then and, for example, Scriven?
So Of course, the sheriff's office in Georgia is a constitutional office. They're responsible for enforcing the laws in the unincorporated areas of the county and for maintaining the county jail. There also is another layer of law enforcement municipalities who employ police officers and have police departments to cover the incorporated areas. And the GBI serves to assist local agencies with anything that they might need in the way of an investigation. We do not have original jurisdiction, meaning we need to be requested to come in and help with an investigation.
So you don't come unless asked?
For most things, no. We do have, by statute, a few things that we can initiate an investigation on, like drugs, a few things like that. But for the most part, we have to be asked to come in and help with an investigation by a sheriff or chief of police or sometimes a district attorney.
Okay. And in that role as the GBI agencies, would that be fair to say then that there are partnerships with local agencies?
Oh, absolutely.
Can you explain to the jury how that works?
So, for myself, I worked in Scriven County for a very long time, and I know the county well. But I'm not going to know Liberty County nearly as well as a Liberty County deputy will. So when we come into a county, we're going to rely on our local partners to, have the lay of the land and know the people, know the geographic area, and help us. We're going to work as a partnership. We're not going to take over an investigation unless an agency asks us to, and they need some third-party objectivity or something. An example would be an officer-involved shooting. If we were to work a case where an agency needed that objectivity, then we would come in and provide that for them, and that partnership would be very limited. In this case, we work together very well.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that you worked with other agencies in connection with this case?
Yes.
Do you know how many agencies or who they were?
Not right away, but we work with other local partners, state and federal agencies.
Okay. And did that include the Liberty County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Okay. When did you become first a crime scene investigator?
I was employed in that role from the very beginning in my employment with the GBI.
And when was that?
In June of 2021.
Okay. So in June of 2021, but that was after you had already had 21 years in law enforcement, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As a crime scene specialist at the GBI, you had that role. But before, when you were with Scriven, did you have occasion to handle crime scenes as well?
Yes, ma'am. That was also one of my primary responsibilities at the Sheriff's Office, was responding to crime scenes as well as investigating them. So as a patrol deputy, I responded to crime scenes that we refer to as being in progress, and crimes that were still occurring when we received a call about them. And I also responded to many, many calls of crime scenes that were discovered after the fact, and then was responsible for that investigation.
Okay. Are you familiar with chain of custody?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell the jury what chain of custody means?
So chain of custody is just being able to account for an item from the time we pick it up at a crime scene to the time that is presented in court later on, if needed.
And why is chain of custody important in your role?
We want to make sure that the same thing that we picked up at a crime scene is the same thing that we show the jury in the courtroom.
And are there specific procedures in place to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those the procedures that you're required to know how to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you follow those procedures in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, were you in that capacity as a crime scene specialist on December 2nd of 2022?
I was.
Okay. Can you tell us, have you received any specialized training in addition to that initial course with respect to crime scene processing itself?
Yes, ma'am. The crime scene processing is very broad and can encompass many things. So again, we train in many different areas. There are certain things that are basic procedures that are documentation, like report writing, taking photographs, although that can become kind of advanced too. And that progresses on through utilizing the different pieces of equipment that we have that require some technical training to use 3D laser scanners or small unmanned aerial systems like drones that we use to take photographs. And also the chemical processes that we employ to process scenes.
Okay. And would that include something called Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the chemicals that we use to search for blood.
Okay. Did you receive specialized training in how to actually process evidence collection and a crime scene specifically?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive specialized training with generalized blood spatter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the use of Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have specialized training in each of those areas for that accountability in connection to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And of course that training was before you started this case, correct?
Some of it was.
Okay.
We touched on some of it, and since then I've had some more advanced training.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that you continue to train all the time?
Yes, ma'am. We train, again, at least one day per month, and then usually several times a year we'll have weekly trainings or
that in
week-long trainings.
My apologies.
Okay.
Is that in addition to all of the crime scenes that you actually respond to?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how many crime scenes do you think you've processed roughly in a year?
In a year?
Sure.
I'm not really a statistician, but in any given year, 25 to 30 would be a roundabout number. Some cases involve more than one scene. Some cases that we receive requests for don't have a crime scene. So those numbers are a little difficult to keep track of without specifically counting them.
And within a crime scene, is it fair to say that sometimes there are many, many items that might be recovered?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So
Sure.
in an individual crime scene, there may be hundreds even of items that you're recovering?
There can be.
Okay. Now, do you ever assist at crime scenes as opposed to being lead?
Yes, ma'am. Oftentimes you'll hear questions asked about crime scene that ask for a specific answer, and it's kind of a running joke with our unit. The answer is usually it depends. So there's so many different circumstances that we run into that almost every situation is unique. We are trained to recognize certain patterns and apply certain techniques if needed, but no two crime scenes are the same. So with that in mind, one of the things that we do first when we get to a crime scene is conduct an evaluation of that crime scene and determine what resources we need to adequately address it. In order to conduct that examination, if it's a large scene or if it's a scene that's located in an area where we may not have as much time to access the scene as we want to, then we're going to need to work very quickly, and we may need to deploy more personnel to get that done.
If you needed assistance, would you be able to ask for help?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be potentially where you might be the one that's lead versus someone else being assist?
Correct.
Okay. And being the lead crime scene specialist, what responsibilities does that place on you?
So we're responsible as a lead crime scene to kind of direct the course of the crime scene investigation itself. The GBI takes a team approach when we accept a request for investigation. We'll have a case agent who acts much like a quarterback for a team. He's going to be the person, or she's going to be the person who's going to go through and kind of direct the other agents and where to spend their efforts, and then adjust accordingly as new information becomes available. In a crime scene role, we do the same thing. As a lead agent, you're going to be the one responsible for working that crime scene, making sure that the items of evidence that are found there are documented properly, and that they're collected and preserved in a manner that's going to allow them to be examined later on, either by us back at our office in our crime scene work area or at the crime lab.
And specifically, have you ever testified before on crime scene evidence collection?
Yes.
Have you testified in respect to crime scene investigations?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you give us an idea of how many times?
Again, I'm not a statistician, and I've testified many times to crimes of a less serious nature at the sheriff's office. More than 50, less than 100.
Okay,
I hate to be
that's
that
fair.
general.
No,
but
that's fair. So approximately between 50 and 100.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you ever been qualified as an expert in crime scene evidence collection and investigation?
I've not been qualified as an expert, no, ma'am.
Have you ever been asked to?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been denied?
No, ma'am.
So would it be fair to say today is the first time you're being asked to do so?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state offers crime scene specialist Brett Dickerson as an expert in the fields of crime scene investigation, crime scene evidence collection, and general blood spatter.
All right. Does the defense counsel wish to take the witness on vote aye?
Just briefly on the issue of blood spatter.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, I'm Doug Weinstein. I represent Mr. Kassotis.
Good morning, sir.
Can you tell me about your training in blood spatter?
Yes, sir. So we have, during the basic or introduction courses, both at the Basic Agent Academy as well as the more in-depth training that we receive initially as crime scene specialists, we discuss the role of bloodstain pattern analysis in investigations and what it can do to advance those investigations. And then later on, we've had bloodstain pattern analysis courses that allow us to determine some things about how bloodstains are formed, the mechanics of and how to interpret them.
You said how blood stains are formed. Are you specifically speaking to spatter, or
Well,
when
spatter
you
is
say
a
stains?
type of blood stain.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So when you
There's-
say blood stains, it incorporates spatter plus other types of stains?
Correct. Blood stain would be a more general term. Spatter is a specific type of stain.
Okay, I have no other questions, Your Honor. And I have no objection to this witness being admitted as an expert.
All right, please restate the areas that you wish to have him qualified.
Your Honor, those were listed as crime scene investigation, crime scene evidence collection, and general blood spatter.
And by stipulation, the court qualifies the witness as an expert. He can give his opinions.
Were you on duty on December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I was on call.
Can you tell us what on call means?
I can. So during regular work hours, which are usually 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, if we receive a call for a scene, then we respond directly from the office. However, crime doesn't always happen at convenient times, so we have an on-call schedule. Myself and another crime scene specialist share that burden, so usually about 50% of the time, I'm required to be on call. An on-call status with GBI means I need to be able to return to a ready state of being able to respond directly to a scene of a crime within about 30 minutes or so of receiving a notification.
Were you on call on December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Can you tell us, without giving us any details, how far away from Riceboro, Liberty County, were you at on December 2nd, 2022?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I still live in Sylvania. I left the sheriff's office. I didn't move. So with Scriven County being in our region, it's at the very north end, and Liberty County is at the other end. So it's almost 2 hours to get down, depending on traffic.
Did you get in your car and have to come down to Liberty County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you recall approximately when you got to Liberty County?
I can. It would have been about 9:15 that evening.
Do you know who, at the time, it was that contacted you with regards to that location?
The case agent in this case is Special Agent Tracy Sands with
Okay.
our office.
Okay, and is he the one that contacted you?
I believe one of the supervisors actually called me to notify me to respond, but he was a point of contact for the case.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what the lead agent on a case, what that actually means?
Sure. So again, with the kind of cases that we work, sometimes with the complexity and the scope thereof is more than one agent will necessarily be able to handle effectively by themselves. So we'll have a case agent who kind of serves like a quarterback for a team. He or she will direct the course of that investigation and assign resources as needed and collaborate with the supervisors to make sure the investigation is being handled properly. And ultimately, they're also going to be responsible for tying everything together and presenting a court case.
So would he be somebody that would direct you as to things potentially that he wanted with respect to a case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And where did you go to assist in that investigation specifically?
I met him at the intersection of Jones Road and an unnamed hunting club road that was on the Portal Hunting Club near Riceboro in Liberty County.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Agent Dickerson, did you bring anything with you here today to testify? Meaning your materials.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you bring?
The case reports that generated during the course of the investigation.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you, if you have difficulty recollecting something, just let us know.
Sure.
And if you could just push those off to the side for the time being.
Sure thing.
If you don't recall something, please just let us know and you'll be able to refresh your recollection. Just let me know you need to.
Sure thing.
Okay? Would it be fair to say that this incident happened some time ago?
It did.
Okay. Do you take reports for a reason?
Yes, ma'am.
What's that reason?
So we document things in order to make sure that the facts of the case are preserved and then presented later on in court in an accurate fashion.
Okay. So when you are doing a crime scene, are you doing it in time, simultaneous to what you're doing at the scene, those documents?
Oh, no, ma'am. We produce notes and we use those notes to generate our reports later on.
Okay, so you're taking notes when it's happening and then you put those into a report later?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that to assist and help with your recollection?
Yes, ma'am. It's taught to us that the dullest pencil is better than the sharpest memory. So,
Fair enough. Now, you indicated that you went down to Riceboro and you met Agent Sands. Is that
Yeah.
right? And you said, what time was that approximately?
about 9:15.
Okay. And when you got there, can you describe the scene for the jury of what you saw when you got there?
Sure. There really wasn't much to see. This was an intersection of county maintained road and Jones Road, and then an unnamed hunting club road. The hunting club road was equipped with a metal swing gate that was open at the time, and the hunting club road was very well maintained. It was had some deep ditches on either side of it, and it was fairly dry, even though it had a lot of rain in the area. Just prior to that, the area was very wooded.
Okay. So when you got there, did you see any people other than the terrain itself?
I did. There were some deputies, don't know their names, but they were securing the scene, the outside of the scene, controlling the traffic on Jones Road, and they had put up some crime scene barrier tape that denoted the outside of the crime scene there at the intersection, and were keeping people off of the hunting club road itself.
Okay. And were there any civilian on scene, if you recall, by the time you got there?
While I was there, not until later.
Okay. So when you first arrive on the scene and you see all this, you have occasion to speak with Agent Sands.
I did.
Okay. And what do you normally do when you arrive at a homicide scene generally?
So in order to understand the scope of the scene and what's going to be needed to properly examine the crime scene, we have to know a little bit about what happened. And what we normally do is called an initial briefing. We'll meet with a case agent or perhaps a requesting agency, a representative thereof, and talk with them about what the case needs, what's going on, and what the circumstances are, so we can make some determinations early on about what we need.
Okay. Did you have that kind of a briefing?
We did.
And can you tell the jury what, if any, physical things you did in terms of measurements and photographs to initially assess the scene?
So one of the very first things we do at any crime scene is to go ahead and take photographs. Those photographs serve as documentation of the scene as we found it. And that's before we start manipulating anything in the scene. We'll go ahead and take those pictures. So again, we find things as we determine. Now, we can't always say that we're going to go into a scene and things haven't been touched or moved, because we don't generally respond to scenes first. But we will document them as we find them, as we respond.
Okay. And so would it be fair to say that's kind of like an overview of the scene?
Correct.
Okay. Do you subsequently take far more detailed photographs?
Yes, ma'am. We generally start at overall photographs, which would depict the scene, the overall scene where the incident took place, and then we'll move in and photograph other things, be it a victim or individual items of evidence.
Did you do both of those in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us a rough idea of approximately how many pictures you took?
I believe on the initial scene it was 111, right around there.
Okay. And did you subsequently take additional photographs?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. In total, do you have any idea how many photographs you took in connection with this case?
It was
Do you need to?
not exactly, but it was more than 700.
Okay. So more than 700 total pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And clearly, have I asked you to bring all 700 pictures to show you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. But are those available?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were made available?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, specifically, do you know how long after the body was first located that you responded, if you know?
I don't know right offhand. I understand that the body was discovered late that evening, and then we received a call after the Liberty County Sheriff's Office investigators had had a chance to respond and do their initial evaluation and decide to request us for assistance.
Do you know who the agent in charge of the Liberty County Sheriff's Office side of the investigation was?
The investigator, to my knowledge, that was coordinating from their side, that I had a lieutenant there, Tracy Jennings, but investigator Jack Frost was the one that was assigned to the case, from my understanding.
So he was their lead case agent at Liberty County?
That's my understanding, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury what evidence placards are?
Yes, ma'am. They're just the markers that you might see, and they're almost generic at this point to denote a crime scene, but if you ever see the little yellow tents that have black numbers on them that we place on the ground to denote where evidence items are located, We use those for a couple of reasons, but the primary reason is just to show spatial relationships and photographs between where items of evidence were located, and then also to provide those items with a number for reference later on.
How many crime scenes, we're talking first about the decedent's remains, how many crime scenes did you process with respect to her body?
Well, there were 2 in regards to the remains, and then additional scenes in regards to other aspects of the investigation, items that we believe to have been used in the scene.
So let me be more clear. Do you recall how many portions of her remains total were recovered?
There were 4 altogether,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
And how many of those did you process?
2.
Okay. And in those 2 that you processed, which 2 portions of her remains did you process?
I processed her torso and her left leg.
Okay. And with respect to those portions, do you know when those were? Obviously, you've told us December 2nd of 2022. Do you recall when the second date was that you processed the second portion of the body that you handled?
The left leg was located on December 5th,
Okay.
2022.
Do you know if there was another leg recovered in between?
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Okay. And with respect to each of those occasions, was someone present, even though you didn't process those other 2 scenes, was there also a law enforcement agent present on those 2 other dates?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, yes, ma'am.
It just wasn't you.
It
is
just
my
wasn't
point.
me.
Okay. And do you know where those remains were transported after they had been processed and recovered?
Yes, ma'am. So in each county where you have a suspicious death like this one, the county coroner will respond and take those remains into custody and will be responsible for preserving them and transporting them to the lab for autopsy, medical examiner's office.
Okay. So anytime there's a suspicious death?
Well, yes, ma'am. The Georgia Death Investigation Act outlines some, but any suspicious death, unattended death, suicides, things of that nature, there'll be the coroner will respond and be responsible for making determinations about some of those, and then when we're involved when autopsies are needed.
Okay. And were they, in fact, those remains of what ultimately is determined to be Mrs. Mebane Kassotis are recovered? Do they all go with the coroner to the crime laboratory eventually?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How do you know that those were her remains?
Well, I attended the autopsy of the remains, and they were eventually, we utilized some DNA techniques to.
And perhaps this sounds foolish, but was it clear that they were the remains of a human being?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ultimately, was her entire body recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
And what pieces would that comprise?
Her torso was located first, then her right leg, her left leg, and finally on the 7th of December, her head.
Can you tell the jury why you were not present for the other 2 days?
At the time, we had one of our other crime scene specialists leave to join a federal agency, so I was the only crime scene specialist assigned to our office at the time. Unlike TV, we don't get to work just one case at a time, so we had been working on this case, and things were unfolding fairly rapidly. I live a couple hours away, so it was easier and quicker in this case for Agent Sands and some of the other agents who live closer to respond in order to take custody of the other parts that were found.
But there was someone from law enforcement there to do so, correct?
Correct.
Now, you indicated that there was more than one crime scene, and I was referring to the remains. Was there another crime scene that you also processed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was that?
311 East 65th Street in Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, and why were you at that location?
This was after Mindi had been identified as the victim in this case, and the investigation had determined at that point that around the time that we believe she was killed, she and her husband Nicholas were living at that residence.
Okay. So I'm just going to start first with her remains, and we'll finish later with the house, okay? In preparation for your testimony here today, did you create a PowerPoint?
I did.
And in that PowerPoint, can you tell the jury what did you depict inside of that PowerPoint?
Well, there was photographs, and I tried to lay them out in an order that would make the most sense as far as understanding the context in which the crime scenes occurred, where these items were found, and which items were located.
Okay, and before your testimony here today, did you have an opportunity to look at that PowerPoint presentation?
I did.
And are each of the photographs that are depicted inside of that PowerPoint presentation, which, Your Honor, I'm going to ask to have marked as states 1.1 for identification. I would note that this has been shown in its entirety, Your Honor, to counsel prior to this witness's testimony. I've affixed that sticker on the tag that is associated with that USB. Did you place that onto that USB, sir?
I believe I conveyed it to Agent Sands, who did so.
Okay, but you viewed it and you made sure that everything that's in there is slides that you're familiar with?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and are those photographs all fair and accurate depictions of what you observed and or collected personally on December 2nd and December 5th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There's also additional photographs from the house, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall the date that those photographs were?
If I may refer to my notes, I believe it was May 4th and May 5th were the 2 days that we were at the East 65th Street address.
If you need to refresh your recollection, please go ahead.
I'm good.
Okay. So sometime around May 4th or 5th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are all of those pictures fair and accurate representations?
They are.
Your Honor, I would at this time seek to introduce states 1.1.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's submitted.
Your Honor, I'm now going to seek to publish them. There are some slides, Your Honor, that are afoul of this service, so I've indicated to counsel that I will try to give everybody a warning so we can turn off devices. Now, specifically, can we turn that on? And if you could just let me know when you can see it.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you see initial slide 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what does that slide represent?
I see just the initial scene title.
Okay. Did you write that title?
I did.
Okay. And when you say initial scene, what are you referring to?
This was the original call that we received to respond to at the very beginning of the investigation.
Would that be December 2nd of 2022?
It was.
Okay. And by the time you got there, was it light out or dark out?
Oh, it was very dark.
Okay. So this photo that's coming up next, is it light or dark out?
It's dark outside.
Okay. Were you there beyond the day of December 2nd, 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you come back to that location?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you take additional photographs?
We did.
Tell the jury how you captured the photographs that are not on ground level.
So one of the instruments we have at our disposal when we need to take crime scene photographs is particularly good for adding context to a scene are drones. We can take drones, fly them up to around 400 feet above ground level, and then take photographs of the overall area. And it's very helpful in showing where items were found and where an incident took place.
Does it also show the relation of items to each other?
It can.
Okay. And did you do drone photographs in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any other type of aerial photography used in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
What type was that?
Agent Sands was able to produce photographs from a helicopter.
So a
Aerial
helicopter
photographs.
flew over this area?
Yes, ma'am. A helicopter can fly much higher than a drone.
Okay. So they go way over 400 feet?
They do.
Okay. And were those captured as well?
They were.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask Your Honor if I can publish just throughout, if that's okay. Thank you. I'm now showing you slide 2. Do you recognize that slide?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What's depicted in that slide?
That is Jones Road there from the bottom right of the photograph moving up to the top right. And then the unnamed Hunting Club Road there, the Portal Hunting Club Road, intersects that road and then moves. This view is actually pretty much straight on to the north. You'll see that the Hunting Club Road moves away from Jones Road to the west-northwest.
And all of those woods, what are they of?
Our investigation showed that this area was part of a managed timber company's holdings and was leased to the Portal Hunting Club for hunting purposes.
So would it be fair to say that the property is not actually owned by Portal Hunting Club, but they just have a right to use it?
Correct.
And the actual managed agency that you're referring to, what's their business?
They produce timber products.
So they log this territory?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that some of what you see in this photograph goes potentially even beyond portal hunting?
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
believe so.
Are there adjacent lots to the portal area?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were those?
Those are also managed timber areas.
Okay, so all of this area is just timber.
This was the middle of the woods.
Okay. And those roads, the one that on the left of this photograph specifically, why is that relevant?
I beg your pardon, ma'am?
That road on the left side of this photograph, what road was that?
That's actually the hunting club lane there where the torso was recovered.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that that is not actually on the main road, but rather inside of the hunting area?
Correct.
Okay, and this photograph then would have been taken after December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm asking that because it's light out, is that correct?
It was taken on the 5th.
Thank you. Okay, I'm now showing you photograph 3. Can you tell the jury what that is?
Yes, ma'am. That's looking, that's standing on Jones Road. The orange posts there are the swing gate that covers that area. You can see that it's open at the time, and that's a crime scene tape that had been placed across the road there to denote the area as a crime scene. But that is a view looking down the road there from Jones Road toward the hunting club.
Can you tell us why there are 2 sets of crime scene tape?
Well, in generally speaking, it's a good practice to have an inner crime scene or a critical inner area that you want to protect the most, and then an outer crime scene to kind of keep folks back. And in practice, it's best to have a large area because if you let folks walk right up onto the crucial thing, you might have items that are disturbed or destroyed. So it's a good practice to go ahead and denote 2 different areas, one that's kind of okay to enter and then another one that you absolutely want to stay out of.
Okay, and with respect to this crime scene, did you ultimately determine how long the torso had been at the scene before it had been discovered?
We were given a good estimate.
Okay, would it be fair to say that that was longer than days?
Correct.
Okay, so by that point, would it be fair to say that there had already been traffic on that roadway before her torso was even found?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so did you attempt to limit any additional exposure?
As much as possible to the torso itself. When that part of Mindi was found, we did limit that part of it. But at this point, you're dealing with an area that has received lots and lots of through traffic and also been exposed to the elements as well.
Okay. When you say exposed to the elements, what was it like that right around December 2nd of 2022?
It was cool out. It was, if I may refer to my notes, I can tell you the exact temperature.
That's
But,
okay. Can you give us a rough estimate?
It was high 50s
Okay.
at the time.
Was there any precipitation?
There was a lot of rain in the area. We spoke with the Liberty County deputies that informed us that the area had received heavy rainfall in the days leading up to the investigation.
And in that time period, you indicated that there was a lot of rain. Was there anything that you observed visually that gave you reason to believe that beyond the deputies?
There was standing water in the ditches.
Okay. And at that point, when the standing water was in the ditches, you ultimately, do you take that into account in your crime scene investigation? Does that impact you at all?
The water?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we need to plan for it, but I went in the water in this particular case in order to recover a torso.
What did you have to put on?
Some protective equipment.
Okay.
We generally use suits made from a material called Tyvek, and it just protects us from biological hazards and things like that we might encounter in a crime scene.
So did you actually don the full suit to get into the water to try and get her remains out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to move to slide 4. Does that show the intersection of that roadway and where that gate was?
Yes, ma'am.
Who drew this?
I did.
Okay. Did you use a computer to assist you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that orange mark at the bottom, can you tell us, or I should say at the bottom, in the middle of the photograph, can you tell us what that is?
That's just the metal swing gate that I mentioned before. It's just a representation of where it was.
Okay. And is that what we saw in the last photograph, that gate?
It was.
Okay. And specifically, you see these numbers, these placard numbers. Do you, can you tell the jury what those were?
Yes, ma'am. So those placards were assigned to items of evidence that were located as we continued our crime scene search. These sketches are deliberately simplistic because we use them primarily to denote or demonstrate the location where items were found and the spatial relationships between those items.
Okay, so with respect to each of these placards, 1, 2, 3, all the way through 7, are those items that you personally recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when I use the word recovered, can you tell the jury what that means?
So finding evidence at a crime scene, we find things that may be of interest. We use the information that we have at hand from our briefing and from things that we observe to determine whether or not the items that are in the location that we see are of any import to the case. There were things that we observed that were just trash on the side of the road, things like that weren't important. But as we searched, we did come across these items that we felt like were pertinent and were important to the investigation. So we made sure to mark them, photograph them, and document them where they were, and then collect them later on as evidence.
Do you know what items are important when you start your investigation?
It's difficult to determine. One of the answers that we get a lot of times we ask a crime scene related question is, well, it depends. And in this case, we knew there were going to be some things that were important. Sometimes you look for things that are just out of place. And in this case, some of these things, when we get to the photographs of them, you'll see definitely looked out of place.
Okay, so do you try to capture everything that seems like it may be relevant?
Yes, ma'am. One of the reasons we take so many photographs is because it's impossible for us to know on the front of an investigation every single little thing that's going to be important later on. So we take a lot of photographs. We do a lot of documentation because we never know what might be important later on.
And those placards were, can you just tell the jury just generally what was at those placards that are depicted as 1 through 7?
Yes, ma'am. I prepared a legend, if I may refer to it.
Okay, please.
So item number 1 was a black and color husky storage container, you might hear it referred to as a tote. Number 2 was a Milwaukee brand fixed blade sheath knife. Number 3 was a cleaning wipe, kind of like a Lysol or a Clorox wipe. I'm not sure of the brand in this case. Number 4 was a piece of torn or cut gray cloth. Number 5 was also a piece of torn or cut gray cloth. Number 6 was a black plastic trash bag that contained some clothing items that were stained with reddish brown stains, and it also has some cleaning wipes inside the bag. And then number 7 also denoted the location of some cleaning wipes that were found.
And ultimately, that legend was created by you as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now turning to slide number 5. Can you tell us what the difference is on this slide versus the other slides, if there's something depicted here?
Yes, ma'am. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner there, you see the black tote that was found that was marked with placard number 1. And you can see its relationship there to that orange swing gate post that you saw in the first photograph.
Can you tell the jury how far that is from the roadway?
Not far at all from the roadway. I mean, about 10 feet or so.
Okay. And can you tell the jury how far that is ultimately from where the torso with the arms was recovered?
The torso was located approximately 650 feet from the intersection down the Hunting Club Road and off into the ditch.
So as we're looking at this photograph, would it be fair to say that's the left side of the swing gate if you're facing the gate?
Yes, ma'am. We generally used cardinal directions, so it was the southwest corner of the intersection.
My apologies. If you went straight down that side of the road.
Correct. If with your back to Jones Road looking at the Hunting Club Trail, it would have been on the left-hand side. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so can you see if there is that kind of incline? Can you describe it for the jury?
Yes, ma'am. Again, this road was fairly well maintained for a Hunting Club Road for sure. It had been improved with gravel and had some deep ditches that had been dug in place. And in this case, the ditch was a little more shallow here and didn't have nearly as much water in it. The ground was damp around the tote, but it was navigable without having to put on a Tyvek suit.
Okay. And when you got farther down that left side of the roadway that you described and you came up on the torso, how does that ditch change, if at all?
That ditch gets deeper, a lot deeper.
How tall are you, sir?
I'm 6'3".
And when you got in the ditch, how deep did you have to get in, up to where on your body approximately?
I was in pretty much to almost my knees.
Okay. And at that point, you were able to access her remains?
I was.
Okay. We have now slide number 6 that I'm showing. Is that another image of that tote?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything additional that's depicted in that photograph other than just the tote?
Yes, ma'am. If you look carefully at the tote and then to the right and upwards in the frame of the photograph, you'll see the orange handle of the knife blade and the black sheath that it was inside of, along with the cleaning wipe that was wrapped around the handle when we found it.
Are you referring to this item right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you indicated that that was the knife, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. That was a Milwaukee knife, fixed blade knife.
Okay. What is a fixed blade knife? What does that mean?
So a folding knife is what you might consider a pocket knife, where the blade actually folds into the handle and it's safe to carry in your pocket. A fixed blade knife generally requires a sheath to carry safely, but a fixed blade knife doesn't bend. The blade is fixed in place onto the handle.
And with respect to this fixed blade knife, was there anything on the blade itself?
There was a cleaning wipe wrapped around the handle and partially around the top of the blade where it met the handle.
Okay. And that black thing that you see, what is that?
That's a plastic sheath.
Okay. So that's not actually the blade itself, that's the sheath over the blade?
Correct.
Okay. I'm now showing you slide number 7. Do you recognize that slide?
Yes, ma'am.
What's depicted there?
That's after, as you noted in the first photographs, you saw that the container was in that location when it was found, face down. Essentially, we turned it on its side, and I was able to take photographs of the interior of it.
Why did you take photographs of the interior?
Because there was a reddish-brown liquid inside of it.
Can you tell the jury what a swab is?
Yes, ma'am. When we need to take samples at a crime scene of an unknown stain or something, we generally use medical sterile swab. It's just a cotton swab, like a Q-tip with a long handle, and then we can preserve those swabs later on and send them to the crime lab for testing.
Is that what you're referring to that you did in respect to that brownish stain in this tub?
In this case, yes, ma'am, though we use that swab for field testing purposes.
Okay. Now you use the phrase field testing. I'm going to show you slide 8. Can you explain to the jury what's depicted in slide 8?
Yes, ma'am. So that's a presumptive blood test that we use to determine in the field whether or not an unknown stain might be blood. In this case, that particular chemical is called phenolphthalein, and we use it because when it's combined with blood in the presence of hydrogen peroxide, it produces that pink color, and that's indicative of the presence of blood in the sample.
It's fair to say not every reddish brown stain is blood?
Sure. Not all of them are blood, and that's why we have those stains, the field test kits, so we can determine the course of our investigation, what we need to do next with an item of evidence.
So if something wasn't blood, would that potentially impact what you did next in your investigation?
It could.
Okay. And if you turned out that it was blood, would that also potentially impact your decisions?
Absolutely.
Okay. You said that this would simply say that it was actually blood. Is that right?
It'll give us a good idea. It's kind of like a pregnancy test. I mean, you can go to the drugstore and get a pregnancy test. It'll tell you if you're pregnant or not, but you're going to want to follow up with your doctor. The same thing with us. We're going to take this and we're going to test it, but we're also going to make sure that we go to the lab and get confirmation later on.
Okay. So this is just kind of while you're at the scene, a way to kind of have a sense of what's going on?
Yes.
Okay. Now, other than a presumptive test for blood, can you do other types of tests for blood in the scene?
We can.
What type is that?
So tests like phenolphthalein are used to identify the potential for a stain that we've already seen, and just to tell if it's blood or not, or give us an idea if it's blood or not. However, if we need to search for blood within a scene, if we're looking for blood that's not readily available or obvious at first glance, then we can use chemicals to search for that. And there's several different kinds, but the one that we use in this case is called Blue Star.
Okay. Did you also make any tests to determine if the blood stains that you recovered were human in nature?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of a test is that?
So Blue Star is actually a brand name.
Okay.
It contains the chemical luminol, so I don't want to get the two confused. There's one Blue Star that's used to search for blood, but then Blue Star OBTI is an actual field test to determine whether or not a particular blood stain may be human or not.
Okay, so I'm now showing you slide 9, can you tell the jury what's depicted here?
Yes, ma'am. This is a Blue Star OBTI test, and we took a sample of the substance that was inside the container and exposed it to this field test, and the test returned a positive result for human blood.
So first you determine, is it blood, and then you determine, is it human blood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that always the procedure, in that order?
It's generally, that'd be
Okay.
the way you want to go.
Okay. And with respect to what you observe, that's the test itself, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you did that test, that was on which container?
This was on the black container.
The one that we just observed in the previous slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now going to show you slide 10. Would that be fair to say that's a close-up of that knife you described earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now going to zoom in on that. Does that give a better picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that describe what you see there for the jury.
So that's a Milwaukee knife that we observed that was over in the woods, kind of behind the black container that was located. There was a cleaning wipe wrapped around the handle and partially around the blade itself. And then we noticed that the blade had actually been placed backwards into the sheath. It was not placed as it should have been.
Okay.
So that's why the blade didn't seat fully within the sheath.
Okay. Is that why that portion is exposed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that how the condition of the knife was at the time it was first observed by yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Had not yet been moved.
No, ma'am.
I'm now showing you slide 11. What is depicted there?
This was a cleaning wipe that was found not far away from the knife. If the 2 points of the triangle were the container and the knife, this would be the third point of a triangle. They're fairly close together.
Okay. And that when you're saying the triangle, are you referring back to that legend?
Just the spatial relationships between the items, that's all. Just where they were at.
Approximately how far were they from each other?
Feet, not far at all.
Okay. And now I'm showing you slide 12. Can you tell the jury what's depicted in this slide?
So this is the northwest side of the intersection. This is going to be the right-hand side of the intersection if you have your back to Jones Road looking down the Hunting Road. Those items hanging from the branches there were cleaning wipes, and then there were more cleaning wipes also on the ground there to the right in the bottom right-hand side of the frame.
Okay. So all of those white substances, are those all cleaning wipes?
I'd have to go back and look at the photographs. Some of that was trash. You can see there that's some kind of cardboard that was on the side of the road. Again, this is a dirt road. There were lots of beer cans and Coke bottles and all kinds of stuff that had been thrown out as litter. There were 2 CRT TVs out there, not too far from where this was found. But that was one of the things we had to do, was kind of sort between what was trash and what was of potential value.
So anything that you thought might be potential value, did you include that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, the next slide will be something that I cannot publish. So if we can. I can publish it just in compliance with your order.
Yes, ma'am.
Now showing you slide 13. Can you tell us what's depicted in this slide?
So this is placards 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2 of the placards are a little hard to see, but the closest one there is number 4. That would be one of the pieces of torn or cut gray cloth. 5 was also that. You can see 6 off there in the back, and that would be the that would be the black plastic trash bag that had the items inside of the clothing that was stained, cut, as well as the some more of the cleaning wipes.
So this would have been the southeast corner still?
This is the northwest corner.
My apologies, northwest.
Just the opposite side from, so the left
gotcha.
side was the first side, right side was the second side.
My apologies, I'm
No
not the
worries.
best at a compass. So when that occurred, you captured each of those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you preserve each of those items that is listed with a placard?
Yeah, I didn't hang a placard in a tree to show the cleaning wipe that was hanging there from the branch, but yes, ma'am, they were all marked, and the cleaning wipes are generally associated with placard number 7.
Okay. Were they collected physically afterwards?
They were.
Okay. And have you brought them here today?
I have.
Okay. I'm now turning to slide 14. Council, we can turn this back on. Slide 14, what is depicted?
This was the piece of gray cloth there that was cut or torn that we used placard number 4 to mark.
Okay. And at the time, did you know what that gray cloth was?
It did not. We just noticed that it was a piece of gray cloth. It was, like I said, it appeared to have either been torn or cut, and it just looked out of place.
What did you do with these items of cloth?
So because everything was still wet, the ground was wet, the grass was wet, everything out there had been rained on, the proper procedure for something like this is to place it into a paper bag and then as soon as possible go ahead and dry it. There are some adverse biological processes that can happen if you allow evidence to remain wet. So we try to dry it, that way we don't have mold or mildew starting that could potentially affect DNA testing or obscure bloodstain patterns and things like that.
Did you do that with respect to all of the wet garments or items of cloth that were recovered?
We did.
Tell the jury how you dry them.
So in this case, when the evidence was collected, it was placed in paper evidence bags and then taken back to the Region 5 field office. We have a work area there. And inside that work area, we have a dryer that is a sterile dryer. It's got filters for the air going in and filters for the air going out. That cabinet's regularly cleaned between cases, and it was in this case also cleaned prior to the items being placed inside. In addition to that, I took some clean butcher paper and lined the bottom of the cabinet and then placed all the wet items inside, separated by paper, and made sure that the items weren't touching each other, and then left them in there until they were dry. And that passes basically sterile air over the items until they're completely dry.
This isn't like a dryer from a washer dryer, or it is?
No, ma'am. This is it's kind of like a closet with a hanging rack with airflow that moves through it, and that airflow is what dries the evidence out over time. There's no heat applied or anything like that. We don't want to damage the potential for any evidence that the biology section of the lab could test for, but we do want to make sure that we dry it, and that way we don't have any of those deterioration processes occurring.
And does it matter that you hang it? Why do you hang it?
Well, it's the best way for air to get hold to it, or to move over it, so to speak. If we laid it flat, then it would take longer to dry.
Okay. And those butcher papers, why are they under it?
Well, as evidence dries, we want to make sure that we give ourselves every opportunity to recover evidence if we can. Things like hairs, fibers, other things may fall off of those items as they're drying. So we line that paper at the bottom of the cabinet to catch those things, and then we'll fold that up into a bindle and preserve that paper as well after the clothes are dry.
Did you do that in this case?
We did.
And you saved those bundles?
We did.
Okay. I'm now going to slide 15. What's depicted there?
That's another piece of torn or cut gray cloth.
Okay. Did you preserve that in the same fashion?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm now going to slide 16. Do you see what's depicted there?
Yes, ma'am.
What's that?
That's a black plastic trash bag. It was kind of like a Force Flex or Glad bag. I'm not sure the exact make or model of it, but it was similar to the ones that I've seen and used in my own home. It had a gray pull string, and when in this case, this is one of the few items that I actually manipulated before it was photographed, because at the time, remember, we're having to evaluate these pieces of what could be just litter on the side of the road. In this case, I touched this bag and manipulated some of the items inside, realized it had clothing in it that was covered with reddish brown stains, and there were also more of the cleaning wipes inside the bag. So at that point, I knew it was pertinent to the case.
Okay. And that's when you documented it and stopped?
Yes, ma'am. I stopped manipulating it at that point, left it in place. I didn't move it from where it was. This is exactly where I found it. I just looked inside of it first, basically, before I photographed it.
Okay. And you indicated that was the clothing that you found inside as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you preserve the clothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you preserve the bag?
Yes, ma'am.
Is all that here?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm now going to slide 17. Do you see what's depicted here?
It's a cleaning wipe.
And was that in the area that, excuse me, in the area that you indicated that there were many cleaning wipes, including the ones that were hanging?
Yes, ma'am. There were a number of them in the area, including some that were draped on some of the low-hanging branches. So we just collected all of them and assigned them to placard 7.
Okay. I'm now going to slide 18. And I'm going to ask counsel to just turn this off at this point. I don't want to zoom yet. Can you tell us what's depicted there?
Yes, ma'am. This is the area farther down the road on the Hunting Club Road, and this is where the torso is located. It's where Mindy's torso was.
Okay. So when you get to this slide, can you explain to the jury, how do you get into this ditch and where it is in relationship to the roadway?
So again, this part of her remains was located about 650 feet down from the intersection there with Jones Road, and it was on the north side of the right-hand side of the lane. So moving down that far, as we moved closer, the ditches varied in depth and also varied with their contents. There was standing water in some of it was just mud. In this particular area, it was mud and water that was standing there, and I had to move down into the ditch about 4 feet down or so, and then once I got in, the top of the ditch was roughly level with my head once I sunk into the mud.
Level with your head?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were about 6 feet down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that point, can you describe the manner in which her body was positioned?
Yes, ma'am. We observed that the head was missing. Her legs had also been removed. We could see the femurs in her legs had been cut through and were protruding from the ends of her legs. And also her vertebra, several of the neck vertebrae were visible. They were blackened, and the skin around the neck had drawn down toward the clavicles. Her right arm shows some signs of severe injury up around the shoulder area, and just in general, she was laying on her back and was heavily splattered with mud. It was difficult to really tell the extent of her injuries at that time because she'd have so much mud clinging to her skin.
Okay. What was the nature of her clothing at that time?
She was naked. There was no clothing recovered there.
Okay. And the only clothing recovered, how far away from the torso would it have been?
Again, that was back at the intersection, which again was about 650 feet.
Okay. And at that time, when you went down into the mud, can you describe for the jury, how does that incline work? Does it do straight drop off? Does it go down gradually?
It was a pretty steep drop off. I stepped over and used some of the nearby tree branches and the smaller brush to help navigate into the ditch. And then once I was down there, took some photographs and kind of documented and looked for any potential evidence that would have been immediately obvious before we decided to try to do any recovery.
And when you say recovery, do you mean taking her out?
Yes, ma'am. Taking her out of the ditch.
Okay. So how far was her body from the edge of the road?
Not that far, actually. Only about, I'd say, between 5 to 7 feet from the edge of the roadway. It depends on how you define the edge of the roadway. She wasn't far from the side.
Okay. Was there brush on the roadway leading up to where her body was?
The roadway itself was pretty clear, but the edges of the road had brush growing up. Again, this is a very well-maintained road, but it wasn't a public road, and it wasn't maintained as a public road was maintained. It was basically a logging road that was also used for hunting.
Okay. And was there anything of note that you initially saw about her body?
Again, just that she wasn't wearing any clothes, that she was lying on her back, and that her legs and her head had been removed were the main things that we observed.
Okay. Did you notice anything about the condition of the femur bones specifically?
Yes, ma'am. Once we were able to get into the ditch and look a little closer, I could tell that the bones had been cut or through with an instrument of some kind.
Okay. Is there anything of note in the manner in which they were cut to your eye?
To my eye, it appeared that they had been cut almost through and then had snapped or broken off.
Okay. And with respect to that, I'm now going to show you slide 19. What's depicted here?
That's Mindy's torso, as we discovered it.
Okay. Is that the original photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's before any manipulation?
Correct. That's as she was discovered.
I'm now going to zoom into her upper right arm. Can you describe what it is that you see there?
Yes, ma'am. There's some severe injury to her arm. We weren't able to tell a lot before she was removed, and even after she was removed, it was not a 100% thing for us to determine. That's why we have the medical examiner's office, to conduct autopsies. However, it appeared that the arm had been cut and the skin had been cut away from the shoulder.
Okay. I'm now showing you slide 20. What is depicted on the left side of that screen?
That's Mindy's left arm.
Okay. Was there anything interesting or notable about her hand?
Well, on both hands, the hands were there for one thing. For someone who may have been trying to obscure, an identification of the body, for them to leave the hands on, and with the availability of possible fingerprints, that was something that we had to evaluate as being immediately useful to the investigation.
Did you try to evaluate the fingerprints?
Yes, ma'am. After she was removed from the ditch, we had a representative from the Georgia State Patrol respond to the scene. They have access to a system called Rapid ID, and they can actually use fingerprint technology to access someone's driver's license remotely. They can do that from anywhere that has a cell signal.
Okay. Does it allow them to basically like roll a fingerprint on a little device?
Yes, ma'am. It's a small device, handheld. It's generally used just two of the fingers. They'll roll or press it against the screen, and it'll read and interpret that and give you an idea of who a person may be if their fingerprints are on file.
Were they?
No, ma'am. The Rapid ID system did not return a result.
Okay. I'm now going to slide 21. What's depicted there?
That's Mindy's right leg, the area where it was removed, and that's her femur that's jutting outward from the wound there.
Now, my apologies. Can you tell us what specifically was unique about that cut on that femur?
It was pretty smooth. It was appeared to us to have been cut or sawn through.
Okay. Are you a hunter?
I am.
How long have you been hunting?
Since I was a child, single digits, a while.
Have you ever processed a deer?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Okay. Have you ever processed a deer in this fashion?
Cutting through a major bone, no, ma'am.
Why not?
Well, that's not the easiest way to remove a leg.
What is the easiest way?
Well, there's connective tissue surrounding joints, and the easiest way would be to cut that connective tissue and remove. If I was going to clean a deer, I would cut through the joint, and rather than try to saw through a bone.
And the femur, is that a big bone?
It's the largest bone in the human body.
And specifically with respect to bones, when you and I were talking about this case, you gave me an example. Can you explain that example to the jury?
Yes, ma'am. And with the preface that I know this sounds distasteful and it's hard to process, but it's like eating a chicken wing. If you're going to eat a chicken wing, and when you go to pull the bones apart, you're not going to snap the bones in half. You're going to pull them apart at the joint. It's the same thing here. Those soft connective tissues are there, and they're much easier to separate than it would be to actually cut through a bone.
Not trying to be distasteful at all. Is that why those would separate so easily if you simply cut the connective tissue as opposed to the bone itself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But that was not done here.
No, ma'am.
And would it be fair to say that the other leg looked similarly?
Yes, ma'am. They were almost identical in the way they've been removed.
I'm looking at slide number 22. What does that depict?
That's Mindy's right arm, and that's the damage that we observed to it after we removed it from the ditch, after we removed her from the ditch.
And what is that she is laying on?
That's a tarp. We, as a crime scene specialist and also the agents themselves, we all keep a number of clean tarps with us. This was a fresh tarp that had been used. We took it out of the plastic, and partially because we used it to help get her out of the ditch, and then we used it to lay her on so we could examine her before she was turned over to the coroner.
Slide 23, what's depicted?
That's an empty Marlboro cigarette pack.
And why did you take a picture of that?
To be honest, one of the deputies, I think, had marked it early on during the initial response and thought it may have been of interest. But as we moved through the area, we determined there was lots and lots of litter laying around. But just to be on the safe side, and because we can't go back in time and do things over again, I went ahead and collected it just in case. It was a significant distance away from the torso,
How far?
approximately halfway back toward the intersection, away from the torso,
On the same side of the roadway or on the opposite?
around the middle.
Okay. So it was actually in the road?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm showing you slide 24. What's depicted on slide 24?
This is very similar to the first sketch. It's just showing a little bit farther of a zoom out, I guess you'd say. And this is showing the location where Mindy's torso was recovered there at the top, and then the intersection at the bottom with Jones Road and the unnamed wooded lane, along with those evidence placards there, 1 through 7, that were located at the intersection.
Okay. And who drew this drawing?
I drew it.
Okay. Would that be a fair and accurate representation of what spatially those items roughly look like?
Right. This is an approximation for demonstration for demonstrative purposes. This is to show the relationship between where these things were found, with basically between each other.
Did you ultimately measure the distance of each of these items?
I did.
Okay. But for the purposes of this slide, it was merely to just give an approximation for the jury.
Right. This is for someone to, at a glance, get a good idea of where the body was recovered in relationship to the other items.
Your Honor, we actually have completed the first portion of his testimony. It appears.
We'll take a break at this time.
Okay. I believe we had just concluded the initial crime scene. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And just to be clear, did there come a time that you subsequently returned to that location on December 5th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you returned to that location, I'm going to slide number 26. I would ask that this be published. Can you see that on your screen, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Can you tell the jury, why did you return on December 5th again?
Yes, ma'am. We had, excuse me, other partners join with us in the search that day, including members of a cadaver dog team. These dogs are trained to locate basically human remains in a state of decomposition. And they're very useful for large wooded areas like this. We also had aviation unit in the area and other agencies assisting us as well with a search of the ground.
And can you tell us what's depicted in slide number 26?
This is a portion of a woods road that kind of loops around to the east off of Jones Road. It's called Bear Hammock Road. It's not a public lane, it's a privately maintained drive, but it's in the same general vicinity. It's about 2.5 miles from the location where the torso was found.
Okay, so it's in the same wooded area, but about 2.5 miles away?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that 2.5 miles, for lack of a better way to say it, as the crow flies, or driving?
I'd have to refer to my notes. It's about 2.8, if I remember correctly, driving.
Okay, so it's a little bit closer as the crow flies, but driving it was just a tad farther.
Correct.
Okay, but that's now about 2.5 miles from where the torso was recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you were present for that recovery on that date?
Yes, ma'am. I was actually called after the leg was found, but
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
So you discussed earlier finding versus recovering. Who found the leg, to your knowledge?
One of the cadaver dog teams was searching the area, and the dog did a great job. He did what he was supposed to do, and located that particular portion of her remains.
Okay. Can you tell the jury how far from the edge of this roadway was that leg recovered?
Not very far, about 30 feet or so, maybe a little farther, but not much farther.
Okay. Was that farther than the torso was recovered from the roadway?
Yes, ma'am.
By
It
a little,
wasn't.
by a lot?
Just by a little. Well, it wasn't within sight of the road. You could not see the leg where it had been placed in the woods from the roadway. You had to actually enter the wood line, and then you could see it after you walked in.
Now, looking at the woods, were they heavily forested enough that you could take a car there, or would you only have been able to go on foot?
You'd have to walk in here on foot. You might be able to get an ATV in some places, but this was a young stand of planted pines.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that those trees are close together?
They are.
Okay. So you couldn't just drive through it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, slide number 26, does that depict that roadway?
Yeah, Bear Hammock Road, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is looking to the south-southwest.
Now, some of the roads, well, let me back up, I'll withdraw. Do all of the roads have names?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So Bear Hammock had a name.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the Torso Road had a name?
Not that I'm aware of. At the time, it was just a wooded lane. We used global positioning system, or GPS coordinates, to identify the specific location where the torso was located, and then where the other body parts were located as well.
If you have rural areas, can you explain why GPS coordinates are an option?
Well, for privately maintained roads like this, not all of them are named. So they may be on survey maps, but they may close if an area is logged, and the new roads may be made, old roads may be damaged, or their use may be discontinued. So with the exception of private roads, sometimes GPS coordinates are just the most accurate way to record where an incident took place or where an item of evidence is located.
Would that include a longitude and a latitude coordinate? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were those taken for each of these recoveries?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in the following image, well, let me back up. This image, is this at ground level?
No, ma'am.
How was this captured?
This was a drone photograph.
Okay. And would that be the 400 feet or less that you were referring to earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who would have manned those drones at the time of these incidents?
I took this photograph.
Okay. And is that the way it looked on December 5th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now, I'm going to actually turn off the monitors for the next slide. Slide number 27. Thank you. I recognize that this is very far away, comparatively. Was this a drone photo or some other photo?
My screen's blank.
Oh,
If I turn it on, it's going to turn the screen on.
then we need Ms. Billings, Your Honor, to turn that off. Or,
Brady, could you step back to chambers and see if Ms. Billings is available, please?
Your Honor, I just texted her and asked her to come.
Okay.
my apologies, Your Honor.
No problem. find now?
I'm on slide number 26 still, so that in case we have some difficulty.
Okay, I have it back up now, so it should just be.
Can you see what's up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, then I'm going to move to slide number 27. Can you see what's depicted in that slide?
I can.
And what is depicted in that slide?
This is a portion of the west part of Bear Hammock Road. It's a little difficult to see in the photograph, but if you'll look around the middle and a little bit to the left of center, you can see Mindy's left leg where it was recovered.
Is that what I've now zoomed into?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the center of the screen now.
Is that in fact vehicles that are on that roadway?
That is.
And what vehicles are those?
I believe that's Agent Sands' Tahoe there in front, and that's my truck behind it.
Those are the vehicles that you see to the left of the screen?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm now turning to slide number 28. Can you tell us what's depicted there?
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is an overhead view of the location of the left leg where it was recovered.
And these shots, were these taken before any manipulation of the recovered items is occurring?
Correct. The cadaver dog team located the leg and then notified us immediately. We responded and then started the documentation process then.
Okay. And when you took these drone photographs, that was from above, not having moved these items, so they would have been where they were initially found?
This is where it was found, yes.
I'm now going to slide number 29. And what is depicted in this slide?
That's Mindy's left leg.
Okay. Would that be fair to say that's simply a ground level shot?
It is.
Okay. And who took that shot?
I did.
And this is again before it was moved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And slide number 30. What's depicted there, sir?
This is Mindy's left foot. This damage to her area of her toes and her foot is consistent with animal predation or rodent activity, in my experience.
Okay. And so that would have been not necessarily something human done, but rather animals that were unfortunately in the woods?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm now going to slide number 31. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
This is the top of the thigh. In the middle there you see the femur that's been cut through. And the grainy substance there was a colonization of maggots that occurred by the time we reached the leg.
So when you get to the leg that we're looking at in this picture, that was December 5th of 2022, correct?
That's correct.
So how many days had passed since the day that the torso was first recovered?
So the torso was recovered on the 2nd of December, and this was the 5th of December, so several days had passed.
So approximately 3 days had gone by?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that time, this is what was observed when you got there on the 5th?
Yes, ma'am. This is as we discovered the leg.
And
this is
that
the condition that it
measurement-
was in.
My apologies.
It's fine. This is the condition the leg was in as we discovered it.
What is that white marker that you see just below that leg?
That's a scale
Okay.
placed there for reference, for size.
Okay. And when you made the observation of those insects at that location, can you tell the jury what, if anything, you did in addition to simply photographing this image?
So part of our training, we always try to determine a time of death. It's very difficult to do, and usually after about 72 hours, one of the best ways to do that is through forensic entomology. What that is, we'll have experts in the area of insect science who are able to take samples either that we collect or that they collect themselves, and then are able to determine different things like what species of insect has colonized the remains, and then using very well established standards for how long these insects take to basically go through their life cycle, they can then determine what they call a minimum time in which, a minimum post-mortem interval, I believe is what they call it, which is just the earliest possible time that the remains could have been colonized by insects. So obviously we know she wasn't colonized when she was alive. That would have happened after she died. So in this case, we collected a sample of the maggots that were on her legs and then submitted them to a scientist at Georgia Southern University for study.
And I apologize. Can you please describe to the jury what you had to do?
So we were given many tools to work with in the crime scene program. Nobody gave me a maggot collection device, so unfortunately I just used a gloved hand to collect a representative sample of the maggots and then placed them inside of a plastic case and sealed them inside of a glove, and then we were able to preserve that sample later on for study.
While you were collecting this sample, were you, without telling us what was said, were you speaking to anyone?
I did contact, my training in forensic entomology came from Dr. Edward Mondor at Georgia Southern University, who's, to my knowledge, is the only practicing forensic entomologist in Georgia. And I've had a workshop with him and trained under him specifically. I was able to contact him, and subsequently I was able to collect and preserve, or we were able to collect and preserve as a team a sample of the maggots from leg.
And that collection process, did you discuss that with Dr. Mondor as you were doing it in real time?
No, he explained to me the process is actually very simple. It's not a complicated process to preserve maggots for study in this manner. It's distasteful again, but we take the representative sample of the maggots and then we pour boiling water over them. This kills them and essentially freezes them in place in time. We document that date and time and the conditions that were surrounding the collection. And then after the maggots are dead, we can pour that water off and then preserve them in alcohol. And then once they're preserved, they last pretty much indefinitely.
And that procedure, was that discussed with Dr. Mondor to ensure that you were complying with what was required on his end?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you follow those instructions?
Yes.
And as a team?
I
that
did
is,
not
of
myself,
course.
but as a team we did.
Okay. So there were other people that assisted?
Correct.
Okay. But you're the one that actually did the collecting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were those preserved beyond Dr. Mondor? Meaning after, let me back up, withdrawn. Did you provide them to anyone after you collected them?
I collected the sample at the scene, and at the time, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Lindsay Smith of our office, responded. I met her, passed the sample off to her, and she was able to subsequently perform that procedure to make sure that they were preserved.
So she boiled them?
She did.
Yes. And then did you receive them back from her?
I did. They were logged into evidence, and I eventually hand-delivered them to Dr. Mondor and passed them off to him so he could conduct his study.
Did you receive them back from Dr. Mondor after he completed his study?
I did.
And did those get preserved for trial in court here today?
They did.
Are they here with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now showing slide number 32. We can turn the monitors back on. Can you tell us what's depicted in slide number 32?
This is a small strip of gray plastic, and it was located along a path. It should be noted that the left leg, when we found it, was not just, nobody just pushed their way through brush to put it. It was actually like a game path or an animal path that was already there. Again, I've hunted for many years, and I can recognize where deer walk through the woods, and this was something that was already there. The leg was discarded along this path. In between the leg and the road, it was only a short distance, and this strip of plastic was found there, and it looked to me a lot like the plastic strip that was included in the drawstring of a plastic bag, such as the one that we found at the original crime scene.
And that would have been where the corner of the roadway by where the torso intersected with Jones Road?
Yes, ma'am. That was a black plastic bag that had the clothing and the cleaning wipes in it. It had a similar drawstring strip in it.
Okay. But you didn't find a second bag, did you?
No, ma'am.
Now I'm going to slide number 33. Did you insert some of these slides to assist yourself in your testimony here today?
I did.
And I'm now going to slide number 34. Can you tell the jury what's depicted in slide number 34?
This is looking south on Jones Road. You should be able to see, I believe, the pumping station for a local water municipality. They're kind of close to the top. But
You're referring to up there, sir?
correct. And behind the camera, so to speak, or behind the camera's point of view would be the original crime scene, the intersection of Hunting Road and Jones Road. So the first drone shot that you saw, the very first one that looked north that showed the Hunting Club Road, this would be basically the mirror image of it. This would be the
Looking the opposite direction?
Correct.
Okay. And so how far approximately is that pumping station or the building from where the intersecting road was, approximately?
It has been measured much more precisely than this, I guess, half a mile or so. Not
Okay.
far.
So that car, if rather withdrawn, the pumping station that was down there, you would drive down this roadway to get to where the road cut for the torso?
If you came in from that direction, you'd have to pass there.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 35. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
That's a gray plastic storage container. A lot of people call them totes.
Okay. Would you call them rubberized tubs too?
Sure.
Okay. And this particular tub, where did you see it first?
So this was also a cadaver dog team find. The team was walking along the path here, and one of the dogs pulled them off the road into the edge of the wood line, and they discovered this, looked inside, and decided to contact us to respond to the area, and we did.
And did you photograph that?
I did.
Had that been moved, or was it, do you recall where that was originally observed?
This particular item of evidence was where it was found. This is depicted as it was located.
That's where you ultimately saw it?
Correct.
Okay. But there were other people there before you, meaning the cadaver dog team, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the next photograph, that being slide number 36, can you tell us what's there?
And that's just a little bit more close-up shot. Same tub, walking up to it. It wasn't very far off the side of the roadway, so this would have only just been a couple of steps off the side of the dirt road.
Okay. Did there come a time when you did anything with respect to this tub?
So when we looked inside the tub did have an amount of water in the bottom, a couple of inches. There were some leaves and other debris inside. However, there was a reddish brown substance that was kind of stuck to the side or adhered to the insides of the edge of the tub, and it appeared to be blood, so we decided to test it with a field test kit.
So I'm going to now show you slide number 37. Would that be a view inside the tub of what you just described?
It is.
And specifically, I'm referring to the interior portion of that tub. Can you see that?
I do.
And is that what you were just describing to the jury?
It is.
And did you do anything with respect to what you observed inside of that tub?
Well, again, because we don't have opportunities to go back and preserve evidence or collect evidence that we may have gotten, we decided to pour the water off that was inside the tub and go ahead and let it dry a little bit. But we poured the water out through some filter paper and collected that filter paper and some paper towels with it, and then collected the filter paper and the towels as evidence.
Why would you do that?
Well, I can't store, and that water would take a long time to dry. And again, once you let water and evidence sit together, you start having problems with mold and mildew, and then you start having potential damage to DNA evidence. And we're trying to preserve the evidence, you have to dry it.
So by pouring it through the filter paper, what were you hoping to accomplish?
Just in case there was any trace evidence or anything inside the container that could be analyzed later at the lab, we decided to err on the side of caution and filter the water through first.
Okay. And did you take any swabs with respect to this tub?
We did. We took a swab of the inside that reddish brown stains on the inside and exposed it to a phenolphthalein test kit.
Now, you have said we several times. When you say we,
My apologies.
Okay, so it was you that was doing these processes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and did you in fact at some point do a blood presumptive test, the phenolphthalein test that you referred to?
I did. I also did an OBTI test.
Okay, I'm now showing you slide number 38. What does that show?
The test kit on the right there is the phenolphthalein. And again, it's showing a positive result there for blood in the mixture of the sample that we collected. And on the left, there's the OBTI test strip that's also showing a positive result for human blood.
And that boot print, just so we're sure,
That's either myself or one of the respondents. This area had been rained on heavily. There was no chance of there being footwear impressions left with the amount of rainfall that had been in that area, not in dirt.
just wanted to make sure that we were being clear for the jury. Those potentially are your footprints or
They
one of the
probably
other
are.
officers.
Right.
Okay. And so that was not in some way evidence in connection with this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm now going to ask you, each of the blood tests that you referred to, that being the first series of tests that you took and then the second series, what did you do with those swabs?
So the swabs themselves that are used are consumed by the testing process. So those wouldn't be things that we would take with us. However, the original evidence itself would go with us and remain with us. We just document the results of the presumptive kits because, again, those are just guides. We're going to have follow-up testing at the lab later on to let us know definitively what is in that tub and what's not.
So when you say the ones that were not preserved, you're talking about the one that's inside of this little packet, is that correct?
That's
okay.
right.
And were there additional swabs taken and made available ultimately to the crime laboratory, or was it the actual tub itself?
In this case, both of the tubs that were recovered were conveyed to the crime lab for testing.
Okay, so they had the ability to take the actual tub itself for additional testing?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm now going back to slide 39. Would that be the end of your collection at that location?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see here in slide number 40?
So one of the partners that we had working with us that day was the Department of Natural Resources game warden who handled what's called an article dog. Article dogs detect items with human scent in places where human scent is not supposed to be. So I'll give you an example. When I first met this particular dog handler, I asked him how his dog worked, and he had me throw my pocket knife into the woods, and the dog found it just a few minutes later. So the dog can detect human scent. And in this case, we conducted another search of the original crime scene just to make sure there wasn't any other pieces of items of evidence that we could have missed. And the canine identified some torn pieces of clothing that were behind where that original plastic bag was located at the crime scene. And so we went ahead and collected those pieces of cloth and preserved them.
Were there any lids recovered with these tubs?
So I was not present for the collection or the recovery of a lid. However, there was a lid recovered.
Okay. And was that preserved?
It was.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm clear, though. You did not actually process it, right?
No, ma'am. It was packaged and taken to the crime lab for processing.
Okay. So, before I move forward, I'm going to show you what I have marked as 1.1A through 1.1TT. These have been previously shown to counsel. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm handing you a stack of photographs, and I'd like you to just take a look at them.
Yes, ma'am. I've looked at them.
Okay. Do you recognize what's in those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Barring the image like the one that you see right now in slide number 41, are those a fair and accurate duplication in a actual photograph form of what is on that PowerPoint in 1.1 in evidence?
Yes, ma'am. These are digital, physical prints of the digital photographs that I took.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would seek to introduce them so that they may be available to the jury subsequently if needed.
No objection.
All right, they are admitted.
Your Honor, I'd like to just publish them in their entirety to the panel.
Oh, that's fine.
Thank you. Agent Dickerson, after you finished on December 5th of 2022, did you in any way facilitate another crime scene location?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
311 East 65th Street in Savannah.
Why did you go to that location?
Well, at that point, Mindy had been identified, and further investigation revealed that she and Nicholas had lived at this address for a period of time during the window in which she would have died.
Okay. Do you, if you know, do you know what their arrangements for the living conditions were at that location?
The residence was being utilized as, through Airbnb as a rental.
Okay. And when they rented at the location, did you know at the time you went to the crime scene who resided at that location?
We did not.
Okay. Can you tell the jury just a general description of what that location looked like?
Sure. It was a single-story residence in a neighborhood full of similar homes. Not a big residence. I guess about, I'd have to look at the square footage in my notes, but there were 2 bedrooms, 2 dens, and a kitchen, and I believe 2 bathrooms. There was a nice backyard that was enclosed, shaded with trees. There was a shed in the backyard, and the backyard butted up to an alley that ran through for trash collection.
Okay. And when you went to that location, how did you gain access?
We spoke with the owner of the residence and obtained their consent or her consent to search the residence and treated it as a crime scene.
Okay. So you were permitted to go there?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
And at the time that you went there in May, did Mr. Kassotis reside there anymore?
No, ma'am.
So at that time, the person that owned the residence was responsible for that location?
Correct.
Okay. So you got permission from them to go in?
We did.
And they granted that?
They did.
Okay. Do you take a signed document to ensure that you have some proof that that was the case?
So yes, we do have a form that's just used for consent to search whenever we try to obtain that during the course of the investigation. I was not the agent who actually obtained that permission, but that is a standard practice.
Okay. And so when you enter the residence, can you tell the jury how you handle a physical crime scene like a residence any differently than perhaps the woods?
Well, and this is a very unusual crime scene because normally when we're responding to something, this is to an incident that just occurred. In this case, we weren't sure exactly when this crime was committed. We had an idea at the time, a time range, if you will, but there had been a significant amount of time, months, had passed between when this crime had potentially occurred, and we weren't even sure it had occurred there. So we were going through to search this house, not really knowing 100% what we were looking for or if we'd find anything.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that there had been other residents inside of that dwelling in between December of 2022 and when you got there in May of 2023?
Yes, ma'am. So with the residence being treated as an Airbnb, there were people being moved through the residence from time to time. I don't have records and don't have access to those and have not had access to those during the course of my portion of the investigation. But as you can imagine, there were other people who had come in inside and out of the house. So
at that point, how did that impact what you did?
Well, as far as contamination goes, we pretty much treat this as a scene that's again, we're not 100% sure what we're looking for. To a certain extent, we just got to use common sense. We know that Mindy received some pretty serious injuries, as horrible as you can imagine. You saw the photographs, and we had to look for signs that may have occurred there. So the easiest thing to look for at that point was for blood.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury how you would go about finding blood that may have been left behind?
So again, some of the tests that you saw, I described seeing physical stain, like a reddish brown substance, clinging to the side of a container, or maybe on a piece of cloth. When we look for blood that's not visible, we look for blood that may have been cleaned up, or maybe was deposited in minuscule amounts that's just not visible to the naked eye. We do have some chemical processes that we can employ to look for those and try to identify those stains where they are. The one that we chose to use in this case was called Blue Star. Now, you heard me talk about Blue Star OBTI. That's a presumptive test for human blood, but Blue Star is a product. They make several different products, and this particular one that we used is just Blue Star. It contains a chemical called luminol, you may have heard of before. Luminol and Blue Star, both in the presence of hydrogen peroxide, come into contact with blood and cause that blood to glow. So it's not like on TV where you may have seen a crime scene investigator go into a house and shine a black light around and see blood, and blood starts glowing. That's not what happens. Blood doesn't glow under an alternate light source. In this case, we can use the blood, mix it according to the manufacturer's specifications, and then spray it in a fine mist. And anywhere that mist falls where blood is at a detectable level, and it's pretty sensitive stuff. If I remember correctly, it's about 10 parts per million that it can detect. And what it does is that blue glow that I'm describing is called chemoluminescence. It's the same way that fireflies or glow sticks emit light. It's not a chemical process that emits much heat, but it does emit a faint glow. So one of the things we have to do when we employ that chemical is we have to make sure that the residence is very dark. So one of the things, again, that we had to do to prepare to even spray the chemical was to go around and cover all the doors and windows with black plastic. We unplugged microwaves and taped over LED lights and things and made sure that the residence was as dark as we could get it, and moved all of our camera equipment inside, and then began searching the house using Blue Star to look for stains that could potentially be blood.
Okay. Now, just so that we can start with some visuals, I'm going to go to slide number 42. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
This is another drone photograph. This is from directly over the residence. The residence in this case that was 311 is going to be the third from the left.
Okay. That'd be fair to say that it's the one underneath the biggest tree on the left side of the photograph?
Right. Most of the backyard was shaded.
Okay. And so that's the overhead of that house?
Right.
How far apart were those other houses from this house?
They were pretty close. I'm not sure that you could park two cars in between the houses, so they were packed pretty tight.
Okay. And I'm now going to the next screen, 43. Would that be the distance between if you're facing the house, the left side of the house and the house closest to it?
Right. This depicts the left side of the house if you're facing it from the roadway, and it's right there in the center of the photograph.
Okay. And can you also see there where there's the pathway to the right of the house? I'm referring to, and I'm zooming in, right over here.
Right. So there was a concrete walkway from the road, from the sidewalk to the front stoop of the house. There was a way to walk around the right side of the house, but it was not very well kept. That concrete walkway actually went to the neighbor's house.
Okay, but that is the distance between the right side of the house and the neighbor to the right?
Yeah, that's a good depiction of it, yes.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 44. Can you tell us, how did you gain access to enter the house? What was involved with getting into the house?
So we met, I believe, her name, we obtained permission from the owner of the residence, and she allowed us.
I'm going to stop you. I need to clarify my question. I mean to physically walk into the house. How do you get in?
Through the front door.
Oh, I know. Are there any steps?
There are.
Okay. Can you describe that for the jury?
Sure. So there, you see there's a concrete walkway from the sidewalk to the front of the house. There's a iron railing or metal railing and a front stoop there, and then the front door.
Okay, so you'd have to go up those couple of steps either holding on the left or right railing if you chose to then make that right, I guess, into that front door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 45. What's depicted here?
This is the bedroom on the southwest corner, or excuse me, apologies, not the bedroom. This is the den area, living room on the southwest corner of the house.
Okay. And are there any light sources inside of this room that had to be covered in order to be able to conduct the Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am. The doors there leading out to the back porch or the back deck, and then the window, and also on the opposite side of the room is the kitchen. So there was kitchen windows that needed to be covered as well.
Okay. And inside of this room, was there ultimately anything of significance to your investigation?
Yes, ma'am. When we started searching with the Blue Star, one of the first things that we saw that gave us a positive reaction was the blue futon there, the cushion on the rear of it.
I'm just going to ask you once again, you said they. Are you referring to yourself or to someone else?
I am. I had help, assistance. Again, this is a fairly major undertaking to put up all the plastic and everything, so I had help from my team, the additional agents that come in and help me prepare, and then stood by and helped me observe while I applied the chemical.
Okay, so were they assisting at your direction?
They were.
Okay, and were they in your presence the entire time?
They were.
Okay. When you say they assisted, did all of you then ultimately put up these tarps or obstructions to the light sources?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was there anything in this room that became noteworthy after you applied the Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am. After I applied the Blue Star, there were a couple of things. One, and the most obvious, was the blue futon there, the couch with the cover over it. The top of the couches were facing there on the left-hand side. Had a significant reddish-brown stain on it that actually, once we discovered it using the Blue Star, we flipped the light back on and saw that it was actually visible to the naked eye.
Is that the couch you're referring to there that I've kind of zoomed in on?
It is.
Okay. And did you then ultimately have the opportunity to capture photographs of the Blue Star reaction on this futon?
I did.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury, is it always possible to capture a Blue Star reaction?
So no, the way Blue Star works is it causes a reaction that is basically transient. That energy that's being released in the form of light, once that reaction is over with, that catalyst occurs, it only lasts so long. So, and because some of the sample was actually consumed as part of that testing, is something that you can't just do over and over and over again and expect the same results. So and usually there's at least 3 applications that are involved in the recovery and documentation of any stain that we find with Blue Star, and that's the first one that we use to identify it, and that's when it first glows and we go, okay, well, there's a possibility there's a stain there. Then we'll set up camera equipment and we'll try to go ahead and measure and capture that, and then usually a third one to make sure that we get a good photograph. But that's not always possible. It depends a lot on the substrate or the material that the chemical's actually coming into contact with and what the blood is actually sitting on or in, and then how much has actually been deposited there.
Okay. So in this case, meaning with the futon, you were able to capture?
Yes.
Okay. I'm now going to show you slide number 46. Can you tell us what that is?
So that is what Blue Star basically looks like in the dark when you spray something that makes it react, usually blood.
And what is depicted in that image, in slide 46?
That is the stain as we observed it on the rear of the futon.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 47, and I'm asking you, can you tell us what is depicted on the area that I've zoomed in on?
So that's the same area of the futon, and again, you can see that reddish brown stain there on top of it.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that's the naked eye as opposed to Blue Star?
Yes, that was visible, with or without the Blue Star being applied.
Okay. And now looking at slide number 48, what do you have depicted there?
That's the same stain. We just pulled the futon down. That futon, the stain would have been in the upright position on the back side of the futon. So we basically just folded that cushion over and then applied a scale there to give you an idea of what size the stain was. You can
So I'm
see.
looking at slide number 49. Is that what you're describing?
That's correct.
Okay, so would it be fair then to say, where is that stain located on that mattress or futon seating
Right.
area?
As it was oriented when we found it, and keeping in mind that, of course, the futon mattress can be placed in pretty much any configuration you want it. That stain would have been on toward the wall, there where that metal portion of it is standing up against the wall.
Okay. Do you have any idea if that futon mattress had been moved?
No, I have no idea. It was as you saw it in the first photograph is how we found it.
So I'm going back to slide number 45. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
And so, but you don't have any way of knowing if since December of 2022 that had been reoriented or moved in any way?
I have no idea.
Okay. So you just documented what you found?
Correct.
Okay. So when you see this stain, you said you took a measurement of the scale and the range, is that correct, that the stain spread?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you slide number 50. What did you do here?
So again, these are field tests, the same as we used before, as phenolphthalein and also the OBTI test. The phenolphthalein returned a positive result for blood. The OBTI test returned a positive result for human blood.
Okay. Is that same stain that you were referring to?
Right. In this case, we used a sterile razor blade just to cut a small sample of the cloth away and tested the cloth itself.
Okay. And why did you do that?
It's easier and more accurate than trying to resaturate a stain using distilled water or something like that. The normal, if we had found a dry sample or a dry stain somewhere that we want to sample, we use what's called a wet dry technique, where we'd use 2 swabs, wet one with distilled water, and use it, and then collect another with dry, and then use both of them in the test. And in this case, it was just as easy to cut a small section of the stain away and test it.
So you put the actual cloth into your testing sample?
Correct.
Okay. And with respect to the phenolphthalein, did you do any other testing?
We did the phenolphthalein test, and then we also did the OBTI test to determine if it was human blood or not. And that test returned a positive result for human blood.
Now, with respect to blood testing, and if this is outside of your area, please just tell me, can you tell when a stain of blood happened?
No.
Why not?
I mean, that blood could have been placed there at any time. I have no way of telling when it was there. In fact, Blue Star can be used to recover, in an archaeological sense, can be used to actually identify blood on ancient remains.
So you just know that there was blood, you don't know when it was deposited?
Correct.
Okay. Now looking at slide number 51, what's depicted here?
So we decided to collect the stain itself from the mattress just by cutting it away. So we took the stained section away, packaged it as evidence, and then noticed that the batting or the material, the padding underneath, had actually been saturated with what appeared to be blood as well. So we decided to take a sample of it too.
Okay. And is that what's depicted in this photograph?
Correct.
I'm now showing you slide number 52. Can you tell the jury what is on the floor there that I am showing?
Right. So as part of the search process, and like I said before, there's usually an application done, Blue Star, to identify where stains are. Once we identify a good location where we feel like there may be some stains, we'll mark that location. At this point, we use some black tape and just marked the outline of the stains on the floor in the general area. And then went back, set up our photograph equipment. Because again, you only get so many bites at the apple at this. If you want to make sure that you get a photograph as best you can, if you can. And so in this case we did. We were able to take this photograph, and the way this photograph was taken is a very long exposure. Most of the time, if you hear a camera click, the shutter only stays open for just a moment. In this case, the camera was placed on a tripod, and the shutter was allowed to stay open for a very long time, almost a minute, I believe, in this particular exposure. And then at the very end, I had a flash that I aimed at the ceiling. The light went up, bounced out, and then illuminated the rest of the room. So you can see both the Blue Star stain there on the floor as well as its context with the furniture and the floor.
Okay. Now, where was this stain located in relationship to the, and I'll go back to slide number 45, the rug that you see in this room.
So we sprayed the rug and we didn't get a reaction from it. So in order to check underneath it, we moved it and then sprayed again. And that's when we found the stains on the floor.
So the rug didn't fluoresce,
It did not.
but what was under it did.
That's correct.
Did you notice anything about the pattern that the stain was in on the floor under where the rug was?
Well, in contrast to the stain that was on the back of the futon, you could not see the stains that are on the floor. This flooring was kind of like a vinyl plank. It was manufactured, and if you got down closely and looked at it, there were grooves in it, and this blood was not visible to the naked eye at all. So the blood that you're seeing there that's fluorescent, that's causing that stain, is actually from blood that's down in the grooves of the floor.
So when you pulled the rug up first, you couldn't see that stain with your naked eye?
Not at all.
And you only saw it when the fluorescing occurred?
That's correct.
Showing you slide number 53. What's depicted there?
This is the same area of flooring with the light turned off and just the chemoluminescence depicted in the photograph.
Was there anything that drew your attention as a crime scene specialist with respect to the pattern of that stain?
Ma'am, in my opinion, particularly on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see where there's a strong reaction. Probably yes, ma'am. There in the center of the screen, there's the brightest reaction. You see how it tails off to the right, to the bottom of the photograph. That, in my opinion, appears to be a wipe. A wipe is where we have blood that's been deposited on the surface and then something moves through it, as opposed to a swipe, which would be where something bloody comes into contact with the surface and then deposits blood on it. So what we can tell from this is there was a bloodletting event that occurred in this home at some point, and then it appears that it's been wiped through.
And with respect to that, the grooves, can you see them in this pattern?
Yes,
This-
ma'am. They move from left to right in the photograph.
And when you say from left to right, would that be from left to the right in the photograph itself?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you refer to the swipe, is that the correct terminology?
Wipe.
Wipe, my apologies. When you refer to the wipe, are you referring to this section at the lower right-hand portion right here? I'm going to zoom in on it specifically.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be a downward motion, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Across the grain, so to speak.
So it was across the grain. Would blood normally move in that fashion on its own?
No, ma'am. I can't.
Speculation.
If you can testify as an expert and render
Yeah,
his
he's been
opinion.
qualified as an expert, so I'll allow it.
I can't honestly think of a way that blood could have gotten into the grooves of the floor without also being on top of the floor. I mean, I suppose you could get a syringe with a tiny needle and put diluted blood in there and then get down on your hands and knees and insert blood into the grooves in the floor and make that pattern. But it would be kind of ridiculous. I mean, that's the only other way I can think of.
Okay. Can we turn, please? Now, Your Honor, I'm about to move to the physical evidence. Do you want to do a comfort break now, or would you like me to keep going?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll take 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, just excuse us. All right, everyone, please be seated. Ms. Payo, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Agent Dickerson, you indicated just before we broke that you saw those images of the floor underneath the carpet, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I observed that.
Okay. Did you do anything with respect to those images other than just photograph them? That space under the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you
So much like phenolphthalein and some of the other tests that I've talked to you today about field testing, Blue Star is in and of itself considered a field test. So if we see a blue glow like that, then we can safely presume that that sample may be blood. So we went ahead and collected swabs of several areas. We did I've talked about collecting the futon cover, but I also swabbed the floor in several areas. There was also a small spot on the wall.
Okay, talk to us about what you saw on the wall.
Okay, so on the wall above where the futon back was located in that first photograph you saw, there was an arc-shaped stain on the wall. It was extremely faint. It was very, very hard to see. You had to be almost on top of it, even with the naked eye, to see it. And after that first application of Blue Star, really couldn't tell much more about it. The wall was a painted surface, so it wasn't very porous, so there was nowhere for the blood to really soak in, so to speak. And with that small of a sample, my conclusion that I felt reasonable to draw was that that first test had actually consumed what visible blood there would have been on the wall. We did swab that area though and make sure to take a sample for the lab.
Okay.
I just wasn't able to photograph it.
Okay, so earlier you testified that sometimes with Blue Star you can or can't capture a photograph. With respect to the area behind the futon, were you able to actually capture a photograph?
Not of the wall behind the futon, no.
Okay. So when you made the first application of the Blue Star, were you able to see any fluorescence?
I was able to see some, yes. That's how I identified that stain on the wall.
Okay. And with respect to the naked eye, meaning without Blue Star, could you see that at all?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Okay. And was there anything about what you saw when it was first fluorescing that drew it to be of interest to you?
It was just a, so because there was the shape of the stain was determined by that chemoluminescence, that glow. The glowing area was how you could see, again, that arc shape that I described on the wall. And it was just a couple of inches wide, probably about this long on the wall.
So I'm just going to ask you to clarify for the record. You did some gesture with your hands. How wide are you
Right.
talking about?
A little over a foot.
Okay.
And again, it was a couple of inches in thickness from top to bottom, and it was kind of an arcing shape across the wall.
Okay, and you're making a gesture with your hand in an arcing movement, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what you believed had occurred? If you could draw an opinion.
It's very difficult to say, but considering that the Blue Star returned a positive result, and then we were able to test that later on at the laboratory, there's a possibility that it could have been cleaned up.
Okay. And so, but that you were not able to document in a photograph, just what you made observations of?
Correct.
Okay. Now, with respect to this case, just before I move on completely, you previously testified, and I just want to introduce these into evidence. Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what I've pre-marked as 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, which I've previously shown to counsel. Do you recognize these three?
Yes, ma'am. These are the two sketches in the legend to the sketch.
Okay.
For
When
the
you say
first scene,
from the first
where
scene.
the torso was found.
Okay. And when you say a legend, can you tell us what you mean by that?
So a legend is like a key to read a map. This is just a list of which pieces of evidence were associated to which placard number for reference purposes.
Your Honor, at this time I would seek to introduce these exhibits 1.2, 3, and 4.
Any objection? No objection, Your Honor.
Right there, admitted without objection.
May I just display 1.3?
Yeah.
I'm going to go old school here. Is this the legend you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm publishing to the jury. What specifically are those numbers on this legend that you're referring to?
The numbers on the left-hand side represent the placard numbers that were used at the scene to denote the different pieces of evidence that we located.
Okay. And having noted those, are those the placard numbers that you testified to earlier concerning where the totes and the other various items were recovered by the gate at Jones Road?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, Agent Dickerson, after you processed each of these crime scenes, what happens to the physical evidence that you recovered?
So the evidence comes back with me to the Region 5 field office. We have an evidence processing area there, so you heard me talk earlier about the items that were wet that needed to be preserved. We were able to, or I was able to place those into the drying cabinet to be preserved and dried so it could be properly packaged. And then the other items that were ready to be packaged, I went ahead and packaged those. And to be entered into our digital evidence system, each item of evidence is assigned a barcode number. And that barcode number is then used to track evidence through the system so we can determine chain of custody later on, just to make sure there's a record.
Does every single item that's recovered get its own unique barcode?
Not every single item, but generally speaking, we tend to group like items together. Now, I wouldn't take something that I found in one area and something that I found in another disparate area somewhere else and put them in the same bag. But, you know, all the cleaning wipes, for example, when they were packaged, many of them were packaged together in the same bag because they were found in the same location beside the road, and they were the same item. So,
If it's a unique item, does it get its own number?
yes.
Okay. And if it was found, for example, at the Savannah location versus the Torso location, you would have then issued different numbers?
Correct. Nothing between scenes would be packaged together.
Okay. And was that the case here as well?
That's correct.
Okay. And were you the one that handled the coding and submission of those numbers and affixing of the barcodes?
I handled the coding and the packaging and the entry into the digital evidence system, and then the evidence submission forms and to be turned over to the crime lab along with the evidence for testing would be something the case agent would generally handle.
Okay. So at some point, do you pass it off to someone?
Yes, ma'am.
Who would that be?
Agent Tracy Sands, case
Okay.
agent.
And why was it him that it would go to?
Well, because being the case agent, he's privy to other information that would help help us determine or make decisions about what evidence needs to go, what particular items of evidence need to go to which sections of the lab, and then the lab has their own order for things and which order they need to be processed. So, with him having conducted interviews with people during the course of the investigation, he'd have more information about that than I would as just the crime scene specialist.
Okay. So he would ultimately be the one to make those determinations?
Again, it's kind of like the quarterback calling a play. He'd be the one to make that determination.
Okay. Now, the items that you ultimately processed back at Region 5, did you ultimately submit them to the crime laboratory for analysis? Some of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to talk about some of those here today. Did you bring them with you physically to court for you to display them?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to note, Your Honor, that there are some gloves up on the stand. Please, I hope they're the right size. If you could just take a look. I'm going to start with the two totes. Are those present here in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can we start with first the black tote?
Sure.
If you can just tell us which box and number that would bear.
Mess it then.
Yes, sir.
This is the box. It's got the black tote in it, and it's got barcode number CC00792.
And would it be you that affixed that box number or code number on that?
I was.
Okay. And do you recognize that box and that barcode number?
I do.
Is that something that you packaged and processed yourself?
I did.
And is it in the same or substantially the same condition as when you initially processed it, barring, of course, any additional stickers maybe from the crime laboratory?
Right. So this, both of these boxes went to the crime lab. The black tote in particular, it went to the crime lab. It was opened and then processed there and then resealed within the same package.
And would the crime laboratory do anything with respect to those exhibits after they finish their testing? To reseal it is what I'm referring to.
Correct. So some of this tape, on the front end of things, we generally use red evidence tape. The crime lab has a system where they use different colors of tape as the item may move through different areas of the crime lab. So you'll see some different colors on here. You see where the impressions of evidence sealed this part of the box with white tape as opposed to the red tape that I used.
And that would have been the crime lab's tape?
Correct.
Okay. And your tape then would be the red tape, is that correct?
That's right.
And inside of that box would be what item?
This is the black tote that was found near the location where Mindy's torso was recovered. Right there on the southwest corner of the intersection of the first crime scene. And this was recovered the very first night.
I'm now pulling up slide 1.1D from the exhibits. I'm going to show this to the witness.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all. Is this in fact the same tote, Your Honor, may I publish this to the jury?
You may.
Is this the same tote that is inside of that box that we're referring to right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I would like to have this exhibit marked as 1.5, if that's okay. Has this box been opened by you since it was submitted to the crime laboratory?
No, ma'am.
And so the contents of that box were processed by them after you?
Correct.
Okay. At this point, Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to, I'm going to ask to introduce this into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. May I reposition to see him open that box?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So it's admitted without objection, 1.5.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to open the box.
You can't, go ahead.
You all see it okay?
Your Honor, I would ask the jury for permission to stand if they need to.
Your Honor, may my client reposition over here? Thank you.
Is that the tote that was recovered on December 2nd of 2022 at the Riceboro Portal Hunting Club?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know that?
It's similar in appearance. I also recall the crack here at the bottom. Still got a piece of fine straw stuck in it.
Is there a tag of any sort on the end of the tote as well?
Yes, ma'am. That's the crime lab.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what type of a tote is that? Are there any markings on it?
Yes, ma'am. So this is manufactured by the brand under the brand name Husky. It's a 25-gallon latch and stack tote. I believe our investigation indicated they're available at Home Depot.
Okay. And specifically, that tote, did you provide it to the crime laboratory in that box?
I did. We actually don't have boxes quite this big as standard, so I had to go to Lowe's and get a large box, a couple of large boxes, so we were able to fit something, or fit the evidence inside.
Okay. And ultimately, that was what you brought to the crime laboratory for them to analyze?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if you could, can you just turn that on its side for just a moment?
Sure.
Was that the larger or the smaller of the two totes?
This was the smaller of the two.
Okay. And that was the one that was found near what portion of her remains?
This container was discovered near the location where Mindy's torso was found.
Okay. And you can put that back. You had one handle, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find a second handle?
I'd have to look at the photographs to refresh my memory right off.
Okay. If you need to, please, by all means.
Yes, ma'am, I believe it's just the one handle.
Okay, and so if there had been more than one, would you have included both when you submitted it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you submitted it in the condition you found it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we're done with that. You can place that away. Thank you so much. Now, there's a second box. What is inside of that box, sir?
This would be the gray toad that was discovered by the cadaver dogs on the side of the road. It wasn't too far away from where Mindy's torso was found. It was actually on Jones Road instead of on a private lane.
Okay, and Your Honor, I'm going to ask that this be marked as 1.6, if that's permissible.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this have a specific identifying barcode that was associated with that exhibit from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
Yes, ma'am, it's CC00806.
And do you recognize that box?
Yes, ma'am, this is the box that I packaged the gray toad.
Okay, and is it in the same or substantially the same condition, minus, of course, the crime scene laboratory, or rather the crime laboratory tape?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to seek to introduce 1.6 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
If we can open that box, please. You also have two items right there. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, this is the toad, and these are the two handles.
Okay, and where was that item located?
This was found about a half mile or so from the road where Mindy's torso was discovered, back south from the original location.
And where was that in proximity to her leg?
Would have been west,
How far approximately?
about a mile.
Okay.
Give or take.
So that was that,
You're talking about as the crow flies or as you drive.
right. And would it be fair to say that there's only a few roads physically over there
Right.
and more as the crow flies? Okay. That tote itself, what type of tote is that, size and type? If you look on the front of that,
So this is Sterilite, 34 gallon.
okay. And that tote is gray in color, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That was in fact the same tote that you processed on the day of which, December 5th of
It was
2022?
found December 5th, yes ma'am.
Okay,
And it does appear to be the same toad.
okay. Are those the two totes, that being 1.5 and 1.6, that you did swabbings on, that we saw the photographs of?
Yes ma'am.
Okay, I thank you, we're finished with those. I'm now going to point your attention to CC 00808, the lid of the gray toad. Did you process that lid?
I did not.
You did not, okay. Do you know who did?
This toad was tote lid rather was collected, turned over to me, and then it was subsequently submitted to the crime lab.
Do you know who submitted it to the crime laboratory?
We submitted it as part of our evidence submission process.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
Investigative team, which has been headed up by Agent Sands.
Okay, so that tote itself, do you know, the lid itself, do you know who actually put it into that bag?
I did.
You did, okay. So somebody gave it to you and ultimately you processed it, you simply didn't recover it, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and would it be fair to say that you had an opportunity to look at that lid in conjunction with the item that is in evidence as 1.6?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
However, I did not place the two things together because they were found in different areas. We want to avoid cross-contamination, so they were packaged separately and processed separately.
So do you have any idea if that lid actually fits on that tote?
I do not. I'm assuming that it is approximately the same size, but that would be an assumption, so I'll try it.
Okay, can you please, at this time, I'd like to mark this as 1.7, that being the tote lid. Do you recognize the barcode on that? Don't open it just yet, please.
Sure.
Do you recognize the barcode on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was CC00808?
Correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark this as 1.7. Is that exhibit in the same or substantially the same condition, excluding, of course, any crime laboratory tape that may be on it?
Yes.
And do you recognize that to be the same tote lid that you submitted to the crime laboratory in connection with this case? I say you, the GBI submitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to tender 1.7.
No objection, Your Honor.
It's submitted.
If we can open that tote lid, please. If you could remove that from the package. Your Honor, if that could be published.
Sure.
Is there anything that you noted about the condition of that lid that drew your attention in terms of its condition physically?
It's actually in pretty good shape.
Okay. Were there any cracks or wear on that?
None that I saw, and none that I see now.
Okay. And with respect to the handle areas on these totes, did you have an opportunity to look at them?
On the lid, I did not notice anything. On the totes themselves, though, I did notice some, what appeared to be some stress marks around the tote handles themselves.
What is a stress mark?
So it'd be a deformation of the plastic. We have, say, a force put on that plastic that is greater than what it's designed to handle. Then you might see a cracking, you might see a split, or if anybody's ever overloaded a tote before, a storage tote, then you know what I'm talking about. But the handle showed some stress, what appeared to me to be stress marks.
What would cause that, if you can say? You said overloaded. I'm asking, I guess, just to be more clear as to what you meant by that.
Well, if the tote had something heavy in it, that could have caused it, or if it had a force placed against it, with a resistance on the handle itself, then that could have been caused.
Okay. And did you see that on both the black and the gray tote, or just one?
Just on both.
You saw it on both. Okay. And you can put that away. I think you actually lost a tag over here.
Yeah,
No. Thank you. Now, I apologize.
go ahead.
I believe you testified earlier that you did swabbings on the totes, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I swabbed the stains that were on the toast in order to test them, again, for the presumptive field test.
But you didn't do any other swabbings, that would have been the crime laboratory?
No. So, again, the field test helped us to determine the course of the investigation, the decisions that we need to make while we're out there. But if we have an item of evidence that's small enough or horrible enough that we can package it and take it with us and take it to the crime lab, then we'd much rather have the crime lab look at it than us. They have far more capability to process a piece of evidence in a laboratory setting than I do beside the road.
Okay. And so with respect to the other items that you recovered, I'm going to turn your attention to the cleansing wipes. Do you have those here with you today?
I do.
How were those packaged?
So there's several packages that contain wipes.
Before you show them, let's just go through what it is.
Sure.
Mhm. And how many packages were there if you want to check?
Five different packages that contain cleaning wipes.
Okay, and with respect to the cleansing wipe from the knife handle that we've seen, did you package that by itself or with other items?
I packaged it separately. I removed it from the handle of the knife and packaged it separately.
Why did you do that?
Well, so again, we talked about stabilizing and preserving evidence as best we can. The chemicals that are in the cleaning wipe can be hazardous for things that we want to test for DNA later on. So the sooner we can remove that chemical from exposure to something that we want to test, the better. And so we went ahead and removed that in order to preserve any possibility of DNA evidence from the handle of the knife, although it may have been a little late for it, but we decided to at least give it a shot.
Would it be fair to say that no matter the condition of the crime scene, you still follow protocol?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so even though this crime scene, you don't know how long it had been exposed before the body had been dumped, essentially, did you still follow that same protocol?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, with respect to, I'm going to go through these numbers, CC 00794. I'm talking specifically, which cleansing wipe was that one?
This was the wipe that was wrapped around the handle of the Milwaukee knife.
Okay, and is that exhibit, the material itself that it's packaged in, do you recognize that?
I do. This is the bag that I packaged it in.
Do you recognize your handwriting on that?
I do.
And at this time, I'm going to ask that this be marked as 1.8, Your Honor.
Yes,
May I approach? Does it indicate on that exhibit where you recovered that item?
Yes, ma'am. There's an electronic label that's generated as a result of this entry into our digital evidence system. There's also a handwritten label that I applied to the outside of the bag.
And at this time, I would seek to introduce, Your Honor, 1.8 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's admitted.
I'm now going to turn you to CC 00795.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the cleaning wipe that was denoted by placard number 3.
Okay, and was that found in the same vicinity as the wipe that you just described from the knife?
Right. This would have been over basically in the same location with the black tote and the knife itself.
At this time, I'd like that to be marked as 1.9. Is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you submitted it to the crime laboratory?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize your handwriting in that actual barcode?
I do.
I'd like to tender this exhibit, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Submitted.
At this time, I'd like to turn your attention to exhibit number CC 00799. While you're there, 802 and 803. Do you recognize those three barcoded exhibits?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are those?
CC 00802 are the cleansing wipes recovered from the northwest corner of the intersection. These are some of the ones that would have been hanging from the tree.
Okay.
And then there were cleaning wipes that were marked by placard number 7 that are packaged with the barcode CC 00803. And the item marked with evidence property tag number CC 00799 contains cleaning wipes that I removed from the black plastic garbage bag that was marked by placard number 6 in the crime scene.
Okay. And at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to mark those as 1.10, 11, and 12 sequentially on 799, 802, and 803. 799. Are those in substantially the same condition as when you put them in the packages initially?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize your handwriting on those
I do.
and the barcodes?
I do.
At this time, Your Honor, I would seek to tender exhibits 1 point, I believe it's
10, 11, and 12.
10, 11, and 12.
Any
No
objection?
objection, Your Honor.
They're all admitted.
Thank you. Now, when you put those wipes in there, would it be fair to say that they were already dry by then?
When I placed them inside those packages and sealed them, yes, ma'am, they were dry.
Okay. And so, only if you know, is it possible to determine if DNA is recoverable on that? Meaning, do you submit items of this nature for DNA analysis?
Not generally.
Why not?
It's been, there are some cleaning solutions that do damage or harm the potential for recovery of DNA from evidence.
Okay.
So we decided, because the crime lab's resources are finite, we just don't have the ability to test every single thing that we pick up at a crime scene. We want to start with the most items of most probative value. So the cleaning wipes were packaged and preserved, but and submitted to the lab, but I don't believe they were tested for DNA.
Okay. If you had recovered DNA on another item, would that impact your decision of whether or not to test additional items?
That could.
Okay, how so?
Well, as I said, a lot of the answers to the question are it depends.
Okay.
So, if we were to find DNA on one item that was at one scene, we might want to test an item from another scene to determine if the same DNA was found. It just, again, it's determined by the needs of the investigation.
Okay. And can you look at CC 00793? The box. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the knife box that I packaged the fixed blade knife that we found at the first crime scene.
Can you tell the jury what is a knife box?
It's just a box that's designed to hold knives. Obviously, they present a safety hazard, so we put them in boxes like these to make sure that other people who are handling them know that there's a sharp object inside, but also to protect the evidence itself.
Okay. I'd like to mark that, Your Honor, as 1.10, 6.13. Do you recognize the handwriting on that exhibit?
I do.
And whose handwriting is that?
That's mine.
Are there any additional tapes on that box from when you first processed it?
Yes, there are.
And whose would those be, if you can tell?
These would be from the lab.
Okay. Other than those tapes, is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you processed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Your Honor, I'm actually going to seek to tender this subject to connection, obviously, with the crime laboratory.
No objection.
All right, submit it.
Your Honor, in light of that, I would like for that box to be opened, please.
You can.
Can you publish that, please, Your Honor? If you can just remove that from the box, if that's possible. And is the sheath that was recovered from the crime scene also present on that exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long is the blade on that knife, if you can tell?
It's approximately 6 inches.
Okay. And does the sheath cover the entire blade?
It does if you put it on the right way.
Okay. And that means it would be seated all the way to basically the hilt of the knife, is that correct?
Correct. In that position, it covers the entire blade. If I were to take it, flip it over, and put it back on, it's not going to cover the base of the blade.
What way did you recover it?
I recovered it like this.
With the blade inserted basically upside down into the sheath?
Correct.
Thank you. And is that in fact the same knife that you recovered on December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
I thank you. Now, just so it's clear that they are here and with us, did you ultimately process the bugs from her leg in a fashion that they could be preserved safely?
So I was not responsible for processing those. Special Agent in Charge Lindsay Smith actually processed them.
Okay.
But yes, they were basically, for lack of a better term, rendered safe, preserved in alcohol and then sealed inside of a bottle. And then Dr. Mondor, I believe, sealed them inside his own packaging.
Okay. But you brought them here to court today?
I did.
Okay. And I'd like to just mark that for the purposes of this witness, Your Honor, so we don't have to go out of sequence later, if that's okay. And that would be 1.14. Do you have that here with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what kind of a container is that in?
This is essentially a paint can that's unused, but it's sealed inside there. So, sure.
Your Honor, I'd like to tender that subject to connection, obviously, from Dr. Mondor.
No objection, subject.
1.14 submitted without objection.
Now, here in the courtroom, did you bring with you the clothing that you had recovered from the scene?
I did.
Okay, and I'm directing your attention to CC 00798. would that bag contain all of that clothing that you recovered?
It did not contain all of the clothing from the scene. It contains the clothing that was recovered from within the black plastic bag that was found at the intersection near where Mindy's torso was found.
And which items would those be?
The clothing items that were removed from the black garbage bag include some underwear, a camisole top that's been either cut or torn into two pieces, and then a torn dark blue shirt that's long sleeved.
Okay. And that item that was in there as the camisole top, you said that that was cut, is that correct?
It appeared to be either cut or torn. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But it was in two pieces?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And again, was there any clothing on any portions of the body?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to have
There
this
were none
marked.
on any of the portions that I was involved in the recovery of.
Okay. I'd like to have this marked as 1.15. Do you recall the condition that the underwear was in when you recovered it?
Yes, ma'am. They had some reddish brown stains on, but they were also soiled, and they were either cut or torn as well.
Okay. And did you do anything with those clothing items? I know you said you used a drying rack. Were those also items that were placed in the drying rack?
Yes, ma'am. They had to be dried before they could be packaged properly.
Okay. And with respect to that series of items that are in there, is that the undergarment that was cut as well?
Yes, ma'am. The panties.
I'm referring to the underwear, yes,
The
the
underwear.
pants.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, could you tell or did you do any field testing at that time on those items?
No, ma'am. I felt at that point we had enough indication from the tests that we'd already done that we needed to limit the tests that we did to the clothing in order to preserve any additional evidence could be gained from it at the lab.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that sometimes you don't do any testing, you just send it off to the crime lab?
Yes, ma'am. We do testing on the front end to inform the course of our investigation. It helps us make investigative decisions about what we need to do next. But it's always going to be a best bet to send an item to the crime lab in order to have lab testing done.
And you did that in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, do you recognize the handwriting on 1.15 as your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you submitted to the crime laboratory for analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, I'd like to tender 1.15 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor. Sit there.
Now, ultimately, I'd like to go back for just a moment to the initial recovery of her remains. You indicated that you had to get down into the ditch, essentially, to recover her. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that put you close to her?
It did.
Can you explain to the jury what decomposition is?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm sure anybody who's driven down the road and smelled an animal has been hit on the side of the road has noticed an odor of decomposition before. Decomposition starts at death, and there are numerous different processes that I won't go into, but it basically involves the breakdown of the organic tissues of the body, and that's a natural part of death.
Okay. And you indicated that there's a smell associated with that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it distinctive?
Yes, ma'am. Very.
Okay. Does that smell change depending on the stage of decomposition?
Yes, ma'am. Generally, it's less noticeable in the early stages. However, as it becomes more advanced, the smell becomes stronger.
Okay. And without being inappropriate, have you handled many decomposing human bodies?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the different smells at the different stages of decomposition?
More than I want to be.
Are you able to advise this jury what the stage of the smell was in your experience?
So they don't have stages so much that I can define scientifically speaking. I can tell you that, and again, generally, the odor of decomposition is very mild to begin, and then as decomposition progresses and becomes more advanced, that odor becomes much more noticeable.
So in this case, portions of her remains were recovered on different days, correct?
Correct.
The torso what piece was that?
And that was the first piece. Mindy's torso was the first part of her that was recovered.
Okay. And would you say that that was mild then, or an advanced smell?
It was mild.
Okay. So at that point, would that have made any difference to you in your assertions or your thoughts about your investigation?
Yes, ma'am. And generally speaking, the less advanced the state of decomposition we find remains in, the shorter the period of time we would consider them to have been either deceased or at least have been dumped there.
Okay. So as of December 2nd of 2022, the smell was not heavy?
It was not very strong, no, ma'am. The ditch was cool too, and generally temperature has a significant impact on decomposition rates as well. The cooler it is, usually the slower decomposition occurs. Same way your refrigerator keeps your food fresh.
Okay. And would the water in this case have affected her body in any way when you recovered her torso?
Yes, ma'am. In particular, we noticed that her fingertips, the skin around her fingertips was wrinkled in what we call a washerwoman effect. And that's the same thing you can see if you ever go swimming and you notice after an hour or two your fingertips are wrinkled. Your skin on your fingers absorbs water, and as it does, it's going to buckle some as it swells. It's the same thing that happened here.
And with respect to blood, you've testified as to retrieving her torso, retrieving the leg, and finding some blood in Savannah at the residence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's start with her torso first. Can you describe for the jury whether or not she was still bleeding at the time that she was recovered?
No, ma'am.
Can you explain to them what that means with respect to how you I mean, she had open wounds, correct?
Right.
Was there any blood still coming from those open wounds?
No, we didn't notice any at that time.
And so with respect to her leg, was there any blood pooled where her leg was recovered that you recovered?
No, and again, keep in mind she was on her back in water, in mud, so it would have been very difficult to tell if there was any blood coming out of her body or issuing from her body at that time, regardless. But I did not notice any, not when I was in the ditch or even when we pulled her out later on.
And now going back to Savannah just for a moment, you showed us 2 images of where blood was recovered, or at least fluoresced, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was there any other blood inside the Savannah residence that fluoresced?
No, ma'am.
Obviously, there was the very light fluorescence, not on the photograph.
Right, the one that was on the wall that you didn't see in the photograph, but yes, the wall, the floor, the futon. There was a space in the bedroom on the opposite side of the house from the den on the floor that we did notice some fluorescence on the floor, but Blue Star reacts with iron, so there was some iron furniture in that bedroom, and we swabbed an area just in case. And send it to the crime lab for testing as well.
Okay. And with respect to that area, do you know if there were any findings of blood in that bedroom?
No, there were not.
Okay. So the only place that blood was found is on the back of that futon mattress, on the floor, and on the wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any way of knowing how much blood was there?
No, ma'am. Again, a small amount of blood can be spread over a large area and made to look like a large amount of blood, especially in the quantities that we're dealing with. We're talking about blood that can't be seen by the naked eye, so but only detected by chemicals, other than what was on the futon.
And specifically, I'm pointing to 1.1 RR. May I publish this, Sharon?
Yes.
Do you see what I'm looking at?
I do.
Is that the saturation spot on the futon that you were referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that all you had showing up on the back of the futon?
That was after the cover had been removed, but yes, that's what had appeared to soak through the futon and onto the mattress padding below.
Was this consistent with, if you can say, dismemberment?
I'm not a medical examiner, but there's more blood in the human body than that. So I would think not. But again, it's probably a better ME question.
But that's all the blood you found?
Yes, ma'am.
One moment, Your Honor. Just so I'm clear, did you look everywhere in the house?
So, yes, so as part of the process, we blacked out the entire house with plastic. Like I said, we covered over, the lights on the microwave. We made sure as much of the light was cut out as we could. And then we sprayed the ceilings, the walls, and the floor of every room.
In every room?
In every room.
And that's all the blood you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
We have a recess.
Yes.